of red cards and redemption in the Champions League as Bravo sent off in Italy and Sun stars in Belgrade. Kyle Walker ended up in goal as Man City drew 1-1 against Atalanta, but are still 5 points clear in their group. Tottenham pushed 4 past... sorry, do you know what, we've done that. Tottenham pushed 4 points clear in Group C with a 4-0 away win against Red Star Belgrade. Arsenal's 100% win record in the Europa League ended yesterday afternoon with a 1-1 draw away to Vitoria. Emery remained stoic when asked about the possibility of being replaced by Jose Mourinho, and numerous Premiership chairmen want Saracens stripped of their 2018-2019 titles in a move which would see them handed to runners-up Exeter. We got some fantastic guests today. You are with me, Richard Lee, and Patrick Christys. We're going to be talking to the likes of Paul Miller, former Spurs defender, of course, 4-0 win yesterday. Son, who scored his 2 goals, who was slightly apologetic in his celebrations. We'll also be speaking Manchester United, of course. They play today. We're talking a bit of boxing as well with Nicola Adams, who retired due to an eye injury. I am here with Mr. Patrick Christys.
I could do your job, Rich.
Go on.
I could do it.
What makes you say that?
Well, Kyle Walker gave it a go, didn't he?
I see where you go. You see, this excites me because we get to talk goalkeeping today. We get to talk goalkeeping. So any excuse to talk goalkeeping. And he didn't have a lot to do, but he did okay.
Well, I mean, he statistically was better than both the other keepers. He made more saves than Bravo and Edison combined.
Statistically, he's played 1 game, never conceded a goal, probably never will concede a goal. So he's got like the perfect goalkeeping record, which does make me a little bit sick.
That was like my introduction into lacrosse, because I've never really played lacrosse, apart from once when the cricket club I was playing for had a lacrosse team. We finished early, they were a player short, and they just shoved me as far away from their own goal as possible, for good reason. But then there we go, the ball comes through, catch it in the net, put it in the goal, 1-0 Patrick, off I go.
Boom.
Never played lacrosse again, never played it before, that's it.
And
I played 5 minutes, 1 goal, I'm basically lethal.
You're basically, if there's any statistics that ever come out in regards to lacrosse ever, you are top of all of them.
That's it, yeah. And you said that,
awkward.
not me.
Bit awkward. Kyle Walker's got the same thing going on, although he did save a free kick.
Yeah.
Let's touch on that game, actually. There's a few things. Firstly, Sterling, great finish. City should have been 4 up by half-time, really. They weren't.
Yeah.
Second half, Claudio Bravo comes on. No, look.
Amazing he can kick it that far in clown shoes.
Okay, right. I'm part of the Goalkeepers Union, so I've got to be very careful what I say.
When you get one-on-one with him, he just fires a bit of water at you from a flower on his chest.
Okay, see what you're doing there. It was a very unusual decision to come rushing out at the time that he did when the striker's like 40 yards from goal in control of the ball. It's unusual. It's not necessarily what you'd teach young goalkeepers. But yeah, he did get sent off. Of course, Kyle Walker then came on and had a free kick to deal with. Unorthodox, it's fair to say, but he made the save.
Yeah. Yeah, I just love it. I absolutely loved it. You can tell, right? There is just something, isn't there, when you can tell when someone isn't a goalkeeper just by looking at them.
Oh.
Just put them in goalkeeper gloves and goalkeeper kit and present me with 100 people and I could tell you which one was a goalkeeper and which one wasn't.
Yeah, the shape. The shape just doesn't look right. There's something not quite there.
It's as funny as well when a lot of the time an outfield player who is clearly very good at football with the ball at their feet, they put goalkeeper gloves on and they forget how to kick it.
Yes. I don't know why suddenly goal kicks become the toughest thing for someone who spends their life kicking a ball.
Like, I remember like at school when someone would have to go in net, like if I was injured or hungover or injured or whatever, and they'd have to go in net. And
at school?
Yeah,
Yeah, of course. Injured.
Hungover. And like, they normally play like the kind of trequartista role. But then you put them in goal and just every touch is a risk.
Yeah. Do you know what I would say? It is a completely different, and credit to Kyle Walker because he stepped in. He had to deal with about 10 minutes worth or so, and in the end, by the way, interesting that City was celebrating that at the end. You see the result, you see the final whistle go, and actually the City players are celebrating, which I think it shows you just how football can change. The fact that they should have been 4 or 5 up at half time. They don't look defensively as strong as maybe they have been. Edison getting injured, by the way, we do need to talk about that. If it looks like he could be out of the game at the weekend.
Yeah.
I mean, that could be really costly.
Yeah, I reckon that's it, man.
Well,
I reckon it's done.
It's not. And by the way, Claudio Bravo, he's not.
He's awful.
No, he's not awful.
Well, he is awful, mate.
Look, he's not Edison.
He's not any good.
No, he's not. He's not Edison. Again, part of the Goalkeepers Union. I appreciate all goalkeepers. We know what they go through. It's never easy coming on as a sub.
Not even rail union bosses think every rail worker's a nice guy.
No, I'm not saying he's necessarily a nice guy. I don't know how he is as a person.
No, but I mean, all good at their job. Sometimes someone will call up the union and go, yeah, Gary, no, I left the train doors open again, didn't I? Right, you're bad at your job.
Yeah.
It's a little bit like that with Claudio Bravo.
Well, he's made it to the very highest level. He's on Man City's books.
Yeah.
So he can't be bad.
Well, I don't know. Right, okay, that's all right. But just look at that first season when he was brought in to replace Joe Hart.
It was a tough season.
Everything went through his legs.
I mean, not everything. He struggles. I think he struggles with shots against him.
Right, as a keeper.
But you know what? When he's got the ball at his feet, like he can find anyone. You know.
It's so true, isn't it? Why did you just play him at left back?
Well, decision making's a bit tough as well. But do you know what? No, he has been pretty good actually recently. That was a bad decision yesterday. Yeah. I do wonder if the fact that he's come on, didn't look like he was necessarily ready. It was a really bad decision to come rushing out. Rush of blood, red card, credit to Kyle Walker. But if Ederson misses the weekend, I am concerned about City. I want to talk Son. 2 goals for Son. The celebration was kind of apologetic, I would suggest.
Yeah, which I don't quite get. By the way, Man City have updated their website and put Kyle Walker as a goalkeeper.
That's quite funny.
Son was brilliant yesterday.
He was.
2 goals.
He was. 2 good finishes. By the way, I want to talk about the first goal. It's one of the most comical goals I've ever seen in my life, where we spoke yesterday of the worst 7 seconds in football, 2 sendings off and a penalty. I think the first goal yesterday for Tottenham, you talk about a pinball goal. The ball hit the post, hit the bar. Harry Kane should have scored twice. Son should have scored twice before, I think it was Lo Celso finally puts the ball in the back of the net. We'll go into a bit more detail on that. But no, the 2 goals from Son. And again, it's a nice touch. Andre Gomez came out yesterday actually and put something up on Twitter and thanked everyone for their support. But the fact that Son scored and instantly you could tell it wasn't one where he was exuberant, just went and did the whole praying thing. Just very sweet. Very sweet. He does, and I think most people now that it's calmed down, the emotions out of it, most people have accepted that it wasn't a dreadful foul. It was a booking. It was silly. He's very apologetic. I think when the tears are real and when they're not, and you could tell that he was genuinely distraught. Yesterday, obviously didn't put him off his game. His game was very good. 2 goals, 2 very good goals as well. And Tottenham, by the way, looked very good. 700 passes,
Yeah, well, he's got good mental toughness, and that is personified by the fact that if he hadn't won, is it the Asia Cup, then he would currently be doing military service.
Yeah, which is incredible to think.
So the only way, I think it was last season, wasn't it? I think the only way that he could have avoided doing 2 years service in the Korean army would be if they won that Asia Cup. Yeah. So we got to the final. So obviously that's pressure.
Yeah.
Like any other Champions League finals is fine. That or staring down the barrel of a fully armed conflict with North Korea.
Can you imagine going into that game, how that must feel? Like you talk about like football isn't life or death. Well, actually, this game might be.
Life or death.
This might be exactly that. Anyway, we shouldn't really laugh about that. Arsenal, not such a.
We can laugh about it now.
He's fine. Yeah. Arsenal.
Mustafi annoyed me. Mustafi annoyed me.
I know he did. His celebration annoyed you.
So Mustafi pops up, goal, fair play. Arsenal think they've won it. Right, then he does this. Running up to the crowd, is his hand cupped around his ear, like, yeah, what? I don't listen to you, you haters. You've all been saying I'm absolutely terrible. Well, you are quite bad.
It was kind of a bit Randy Macho Savage. What's the guy's name? The WWE wrestler. I've completely ruined that. What was it?
A little bit of Randy, man. It's
Randy Savage.
Randy Savage.
Do you remember and he did the ear thing? It was a little bit like that.
But it was weird though, because like I can understand it if you just had a
Randy Man. What is going wrong? Macho Man, Randy Savage. There we go. We got it now. Sorry, I just wanted to clarify that. It's not a Randy Man. He might be a Randy Man, but it wasn't a Randy Man.
Fantastic. Okay, I'm glad we did this. No, but this is the thing where, a lot of the Arsenal players, for me, I think, don't quite get it. Like, Arsenal fans are, like, and I mean this with love, like, they are very passionate about their club to the point when I think sometimes it can be quite comical. Outside the game, sometimes the Arsenal fans, and by the way, I support a club who at one point their most famous fan said, "Give it Giggsy, it's the end of the season." So we're not all squeaky clean, but some of the Arsenal fans, I think, are so passionate about their club that actually it can border on the ridiculous at times. But I don't think the players get it. I don't think the players get that, like, that is a club with such a proud history and such high expectations, and what is expected of them, and this level of performance. And, for Mustafi to kind of come away and just, like, cup his ear at the end of it and run around, it's like, you don't get it, mate. You've been pretty bad. Like, the criticism is legitimate.
And one what's it? One swallow doesn't make a summer.
Yeah,
that is what I say.
Full of it.
I know. I need to. Do you know? I feel like I need to just nail these sayings now because I've missed a few already, quite badly. So no, but he's had a good moment. So that's nice. But you almost, I guess, if you had a pretty bad time, which he has, I think he would admit that. You need to build some credit, and you don't build credit with one goal. It takes a series of performances, take time, and over time you can win fans. If anything, you kind of negate what you've just done by going and putting your hand to your ear, because the fans are like, come on, mate, you're not really killing it right now. Now, was he definitely, the question I have for you, was he definitely doing it to his own fans, or could it have been to the opposition?
I think it might have been a bit of both. Like, it's one of those things. But either way, for me, I just don't really like that. It's like with the Dele Alli thing, where he scored and then, like, did his, like, sleeping, lying down thing.
Yeah.
You know, like, I'm just all relaxed and chill. Like, again, you've gone missing for... I'm pretty sure there's pictures of you on the side of milk cartons. You know what I mean? Like, if found, please return back to Tottenham. Like, I've not seen him for ages. I don't know where... and then he scores a goal, fair play, and then he just the whole, like, I'm not bothered celebration. Maybe be a bit more bothered.
I remember when you had your picture everywhere, and but it wasn't missing, it was wanted, wasn't it?
Wanted, yeah. Interpol.
So, manager under pressure, Unai Emery, getting a lot of stick this morning. An ex-manager looks likely to take over at Bayern Munich until the end of the season, Mr. Arsene Wenger.
Well, I saw Marcel Desailly come out and say that he's 70, he shouldn't be in the dugout. I think there might be something in that.
Okay.
But Bayern did have quite an aged manager.
Roy Hodgson is what, 72?
Yeah. Sorry, I don't.
You don't like Roy, do you?
Roy doesn't like me.
No, you had that personal issue.
Why would you bring Roy up? We're having such a
do you know what? And I feel a bit bad for Roy because it might have just been that he was having a bad day. Roy kind of. I think most people would like warm to Roy. He's
so did I, mate.
Yeah.
I didn't. I thought
It's
I
good
thought this is a nice, friendly old owl of a man who at one time guided England to the heady heights of getting knocked out of European competition by Iceland, which caused a population of 350,000 people and smells overbearingly of rotten egg.
Okay, so what you're saying is as soon as someone wrongs you, you never let that go.
Well, I've not seen him since.
And
it's been tricky for me to let it go, really.
Well, you could just let it go, because what happened exactly? It was just a small comment,
Not
real
really
small
a small comment. No, he'd gone down an entire embankment of reporters and then came to me, and I asked him a pretty straightforward question. Mourinho had been sacked by United, and he was one of the first victims to play Ole Gunnar Solskjaer drawing. Do you remember that time United were winning stuff? And I said to him, look, what was the difference in playing Mourinho's team, Solskjaer's team? He looked me in the eye and basically went, that's an absolutely stupid question. What an idiot you are. Why would I talk about another team like this? And I was like, okay, so, you must be pleased with your season overall, though. And he's like, why would you say that? I was like, well, to be honest with you, Roy, because I'm trying to be nice now, because you seem like you're in a terrible mood.
Did he call you an idiot?
He called me an idiot.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry to bring that back up. I feel like I'm just pressing on a wound. Yeah, I feel like that could be the subject of today's show.
Let's move on.
So this is why you haven't let
on.
Grandad Roy. This is why you haven't Gramps. That's what I like to call him. What a nice guy. He's like your cuddly old granddad, and you don't like him.
No, I don't.
Okay, so anyway, Arsene Wenger, you're saying too old at 70.
Well, no, I'm not sure, but I'm just not sure.
I love how quickly you backtrack.
No, look, I don't think he's not the future, is he? Do you know what I mean? I'm just not sure of the merits of getting Arsene Wenger out of retirement after I think his strengths waned slightly as Arsenal manager.
Yeah.
Essentially to give him some kind of passion project, like he's, it's not a bus pass.
Well, it sounds like a short-term solution. They're having a dreadful season, by the way.
Yeah.
So, Arsene come in there and really liven the place up. So I can see it. You don't think so? No, I think he would.
Arsene really liven the place up.
He's kind of got that geeky, arrogance about him. I like it.
Yeah, let's do a Sudoku, but while we listen to techno.
Another big story today. Numerous Premiership chairmen want Saracens stripped of their 2018-2019 titles.
Yes. Jealousy.
Do you think?
Sour grapes.
It would mean that Exeter would be handed the title on both occasions.
But would it? But then, okay, so then what happens? So do we all have to go to Exeter's ground? You give them a load of bottles of champagne, you put the big Premiership title thing behind them, but just last year's and probably the years before as well. And then, fireworks go off and we go, yeah! And then we all go home. Like, how does that work? You can't just hand another team a cup, can you? Also, I do feel like a lot of these clubs should be a little bit wary of what they say now. Because, if they're run like literally any business I've ever known, there is some skeletons in the closet. So,
Well, look, we're going to be going through this so much more. We're going to be talking as well, Nicola Adams, who retires after a torn pupil injury. Yeah. This rugby thing is going to rumble on, and of course, so many games last night. We will be talking business next.
Love sport.
It's cancer, they said. My first thought, let's just say it wasn't money, but time off work for treatment and trips to the hospital, paying the rent, and. The cost of living doesn't go away just because you're living with cancer, and Macmillan can help with that too. My advice? Take their advice, soon as. I did.
Macmillan, right there with you. Search Macmillan Money Worries.
If you fall asleep at the wheel, you'll put your life in danger, and the lives of others as well. Before you feel tired, pull off the road into a services or other safe area. Drink some strong coffee, and take a quick nap while the caffeine kicks in.
If you're having a nap, you've left your lights on, sir.
Right, cheers.
Think. Don't drive tired.
Exercise. It doesn't have to mean Lycra or a fancy gym membership. All you need is 10 minutes and you. Because a regular 10-minute brisk walk is a great way to get more active. Whether that's walking to the shops or getting off the bus a stop early. Picking up the pace and getting your heart pumping can make a real difference to your health. So, to see how much brisk walking you're doing and how you can fit more into your day, download the free Active 10 app, because there's only one you.
I love my brother. We do fun things like playing together. I like having hugs with Freddie. Freddie gives the best hugs. Freddie used to be very poorly, and the doctor said he might need a new liver. Then one day, a very nice person gave their liver to Freddie. It was amazing. We were so happy. Now he's around to give me more hugs than ever.
Tell your family you want to save lives. To find out more, visit organdonation.nhs.uk.
This is Love Sport.
Love Sport Breakfast with Julie Patrick Christys. Here you go. Outfield players who have played in goal. Harry Kane, John Terry, John O'Shea, Phil Jagielka famously.
Jones.
Vinnie Jones.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a fantastic clip of that, and definitely.
Did you say John O'Shea?
Yeah,
John O'Shea.
John O'Shea, Noel Quinn, Pele. In fact, Pele had scored a hat-trick for Santos against Gremio in 1963. His goalkeeper was sent off, so Pele stepped in. Apparently, he was great in goal, and one teammate was quoted as saying, "It was as if he could fly." People have said that about you when you played in goal.
Yeah.
Like,
No, that was true. Yeah. Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Pele's just one of those annoying kids. We all had that annoying kid at school.
Yeah.
Well, my one was called Dan.
Yeah.
Right? And he was like great at tennis, great at squash. He was a year up at school.
Yeah.
You know, he was great at cricket. He was great at football.
Yeah, I think I might have been that kid.
Yeah, he was ginger though, so.
Oh, okay. So you win some, you lose some.
Screw you, Dan.
Yeah, dealt the cards you dealt, and you got no friends, but all right, you can win a game of tennis.
Yeah, and is he happy?
Well,
yes, he was.
Probably does he? Right, okay, he's done incredibly well for himself. Well, congratulations to him. I'm delighted for him. So let's talk about the games last night. I think we'll move on from Dan and his happy life, his happy life at Deloitte. Try to keep rubbing that one in, or are you over it now?
I'm over it.
Fantastic. The games last night. So, Man City, good draw. Do you know, it's strange. Going into that game, we were talking yesterday, really, they would have expected to win. They beat Atalanta comfortably at home. But in the end, the way things played out, the fact that Kyle Walker had to go in goal and did a stand-up job. He was very pleased. He was actually giving goalkeepers a bit of stick at the end, though, which annoyed me, talking about how in training he would always tell them to catch it, and he kind of proved his point by catching it. Yeah. So I wasn't overly...
Did you ever have that? Did you ever have that annoying defender that was like, oh, why didn't you save that? Oh, come on, why didn't you save that?
Yeah, or the worst one was the defender that when you made a half error and you thought, oh, I might have got away with that, I don't think any of the fans have seen, he would then run up and like pat you on the back and put an arm around your shoulder to almost say to the fans, yeah, it's his fault.
Screw you.
I know, I hated that. I was like, oh, get off me right now.
Did you ever tell them, look, never do that again?
Yeah, I had many a stand-up argument. Yeah, because it was like, especially when you get that one where it was almost like, it was a bit of my fault and it was a bit of your fault. Yeah. So we both know it. Now, the good lads would be a bit of, right, just like head down, walk back to your place, and who knows, maybe we'll get away with it. The ones that weren't so good will make a point of like screaming at you, pointing the finger, or coming and patting you on the back. That was worse than screaming at you, coming and patting you on the back and showing the fans that he's the good guy.
But did you ever scream at your defenders in a way, like, did you ever do that
No,
back?
I think I was good, you see. I say I was good. and this is probably a criticism, where I would, if someone's made a mistake, they know they made a mistake.
Yeah.
So I would never then make a point of singling them out. Imagine what they're like then for the rest of the game, thinking, okay, everybody's hating me right now. So, no, I never really did that. I'd get frustrated, like you let in a goal. It was more of a general frustration, that classic one. There's certain goalkeepers that do it. They get up and scream and shout without any point or reason whatsoever.
Yeah.
It wasn't quite as bad as that, but I'd get frustrated without singling people out. However, it does bug me a bit when outfield players go in goal, especially when they do a reasonably good job of it, because it kind of makes a bit of a mockery of...
Belittles it, doesn't it?
Yeah, spending 20 years mastering a craft.
Yeah, reading books on how to be springier.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
Then, there's Kyle.
There's Kyle. Clean sheet Kyle, as he's called now.
Clean sheet Kyle.
Yeah.
Safe hands Kyle.
On the Man City website as a goalkeeper.
Yeah.
No, you're not, Kyle. Let's delete you, Kyle. Yeah, anyway, I think we should move on, because I'm now annoyed. You're annoyed about Roy, I'm annoyed about Kyle. I'll tell you what, let's talk business.
It's business time. I know what you're trying to say. You're trying to say it's time for business.
It's business time. Oh, it's business. Chris Bailey time. Morning, Chris.
Good morning.
Good morning, Chris Bailey, founder of FinancialOrbit.com. How are we this morning?
I'm actually busy. I'm a bit stressed this morning. Actually, it's been a bit planes, trains, and automobiles already. But I won't tell you what time I got up. But obviously, the fulcrum of my morning is this conversation. So I had to rush back, literally, sort of sweating and whatever, to take the call.
Wow, that's a lot of detail. I'm imagining a John Candy figure somewhere in the room as well. Let's talk some business.
I'm hoping I don't have a John Candy figure, but there you go.
Indeed. Chinese investors bail out Pizza Express.
That's right. So, fear ye not those who thought that Pizza Express was gonna collapse and be another high street casualty and everything else. The Chinese are going to bail it out. Well, they're probably always going to do so. They basically, without getting too technical about it, they own a lot of the sort of the bonds and other kind of financial underpinnings to the company. They unsurprisingly are going to forward some extra finance to get Pizza Express over their small problem of having too much debt. And so, be it whatever your favourite pizza is, it's going to be available this weekend, which is all good news. Although I reckon if the Chinese are going to bail them out, they should introduce a few new ones, sort of a Sichuan-style topping or something like that, just to kind of...
They already do a hoisin duck pizza, and that is the bomb. Yeah, by the way, I think this is how it starts, mate. This is the start of the soft Chinese takeover of the British Isles. Absolutely, 100%.
I think it's happened already.
Actually, it has. They've got the nuclear launch codes, haven't they?
That's right. I mean, it's just one thing after another. But, good news for pizza lovers.
Yay!
Yeah, not good news for most of the world.
No.
UK politicians want to spend a lot more.
Well, this is possibly not good news for UK taxpayers. Now, obviously, we can't get too political, but suffice to say, what you're going to see over the next couple of days, starting today, is a bunch of promises from leading politicians, which essentially involve spending a lot of money which they probably don't have, and therefore going to have to borrow at some point or other if their promises are going to be fulfilled. So we had something called the Office of Budget Responsibility, which is this very august body which kind of tries to be sort of apolitical. And they basically say, whoever you back, they're going to be busting through deficit targets and everything else over the next few years. So all good news. Let's just hope that they can keep on borrowing cheaply. Otherwise, we all know what that means. More spending equals more taxes.
Indeed. And last but not least, stock market traders want shorter hours.
Well, this is an absolute disgrace, isn't it? I mean, stock market traders, trying to earn an honest crust. They work at the moment. The stock market at the moment opens at 8 o'clock and it closes at 4:30. And a couple of investment bodies want to change these hours to 9 o'clock opening to closing at 4 o'clock, which I think is an absolute disgrace because it's everybody should be working 12 hours a day and obviously loving it basically. So there you go. I think it'd be bonkers if they did that, but there you go. That's a suggestion. I mean, for me, my day starts nice and early because I want to be on top of the news. I want to be able to be fluid and thoughtful and musing correctly on a show like this.
Exactly.
If I start a bit later, it's not going to work, is it?
But this is it, Chris. You just said, look, you work your 18-hour days, but you're stressed. Maybe you need a 9 till 4.
Maybe I do, but I'm sure the bank balance is not quite as attractive. But there you go. No, I'm only stressed because I have to do extra stuff on top of my 18 hours. If it was just business, it'd be absolutely fine. But no, this was where I had to do some various drop-offs at one of my daughter's schools.
Oh, right. I was wondering where you go with that.
Other things mucking up my routine, basically.
There you go.
All good fun.
Well, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll send over Patrick Christys, who'll give you a nice massage.
You're welcome.
Oh, dearie me.
On that
That's
odd
like
note.
booby fries, that stuff.
Magic hands, Chris. I've got magic hands.
On that rather strange note, we'll let you enjoy your day, Mr. Chris Bailey.
Enjoy.
Great stuff. Founder of financialorbit.com.
Yes. All right. Well, we've got a couple of minutes before the news, so we might as well just run through some of the top stories.
Let's.
Spurs put Red Star to the sword last night, 4-0. Son popping up, a very magnanimous Son with a brace. Didn't really celebrate. Did kind of praying gestures, heart gestures. Kind of loving, goes after he obviously shattered Andre Gomez's leg accidentally. Atalanta held Manchester City to a draw at the San Siro. Kyle Walker had to go in goal.
Just quickly, the penalty they missed. Probably the worst penalty I've ever seen. Jesus, what was he trying? He missed it by about 2 yards.
City, all in all, really wasn't a great day for them.
No.
Atalanta are playing away from home, even though they're in Italy, because their own stadium is knackered, but it's being rebuilt, whatever, depends on which way you put that. City had Edison injured, didn't come out for the second half. Claudio comes out. Sides down a player, gets sent off. Kyle Walker goes in goal. Jesus takes one of the worst penalties that I've ever seen in my life. 1-1 in the Champions League. Not a great day for them. And just quickly as well, the fallout from Saracens being docked 35 points and fined £5.3 million for breaching salary caps. This is kicking on. In the gutter is the headline on the back of the Mail today. Saracens accused of being serial cheats, and ex-England captain Rob Shaw says rugby's image is sullied. They might now, well, there are calls anyway for them to be stripped of their previous titles.
Yeah, well, one of the people calling for it is, from what I understand, or one of the teams are Exeter, which I suppose they would. That would mean that they would win both titles. Yes. Would they still accept it? We spoke about,
100%.
We spoke about Ewan Thomas accepting the medal in a car park in Birmingham when he was given gold. It wasn't really that exciting once you're given it after the event. Would this not be the same?
One thing I will say, right, is that regardless of your exact feelings about this, when there's doping scandals in athletics, when there's doping scandals in cycling, it becomes a really closed shop and nothing happens about it. At least with this, we're going to go into more detail, but at least with this, big rugby figures are coming out and condemning just overarching cheating and saying something must be done.
We'll be discussing this in more detail shortly. The time is 3 minutes to 7.
Love sport.
Have you had enough of extortionate energy bills? A spokesman said could help you find the cheapest energy deals on the market. Don't take our word for it. There's hundreds of spokesman said customers who've saved big. Brian from Derbyshire saved £400 on his energy bills, and Tony from Northampton saved a massive £2,800 on his gas and electric. A spokesmansaid.com, the leading price comparison site where you can switch to the cheapest energy tariffs on the market in just minutes.
Spokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money.
If you're driving on a motorway and you see a red X sign overhead, you need to change lanes safely. Driving in a red X lane is an offence. Red X's are there for a reason, to protect you and others from danger. The lane may be blocked by a broken down vehicle or road workers, or the lane may be needed for the emergency services. So if you see a red X, change lanes safely. Highways England, connecting the country.
My mum and dad say that I don't need lots of sugar. I'm sweet enough already. So we used the Change for Life food scanner app to find out how much sugar is in our food and drink. It's surprising how much we found. So I put my detective hat on to find the healthier choices. Woohoo! Found one, Mum! You can be food smart too. Download the free Change for Life food scanner app today.
Driving too close to the car in front gives you less time to react. You may not realise that you're tailgating. Leave a 2-second gap between you and the vehicle in front. When it's wet, leave a 4-second gap. By staying back, you give yourself time to react. Stay safe. Stay back. Highways England, connecting the country.
Lots for breakfast. Me, Richard Lee. Patrick Christys here till 10. You know what? It's Thursday today. You probably know that. But we get more powerful towards the end of the week, which is exciting for everybody over the next 3 hours. Who knows where it's going to go? I can actually tell you where it's going to go, because we're going to be speaking a bit of rugby. We're going to be speaking Arsene Wenger as well, because he may well be taking over at Bayern Munich. Saracens, of course, we have to talk about.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking Man United. There's an interesting piece on Tosic.
Tosic, I think it's Tosic, but I'm not very good at the whole pronunciation of names thing.
No, well, there's an interesting article with him. Of course, he faces Manchester United tonight. We're speaking to Paul Miller as well, former Spurs defender. As always, you can get in touch, as Clive has already. Good morning, Clive.
Morning, Clive.
0208 70 20 558. We're on YouTube. We're also on the socials.
On digital radio, online, mobile, and smart speaker.
This is Love Sport News.
From the Sky News Centre at 7, Labour's deputy leader insists his decision to quit his role and not stand at the general election is personal, not political. Tom Watson explains what he's planning.
I'm training to be a level 2 gym instructor. I've got a book on weight loss coming out in January. I hope to set up an organisation to mobilise the people power of people with type 2 diabetes like myself to try and get improved support for them.
Meanwhile, there's a focus on the economy and spending later. The Chancellor will warn that Labour would ruin the UK's finances. The Shadow Chancellor's promising £150 billion for schools, hospitals, care homes and council housing over 5 years. A jury in New Zealand's been shown CCTV footage of British backpacker Grace Mullane hours before she was strangled. The 22-year-old seen visiting a number of bars in Auckland and hugging the man who denies murdering her in December last year. Jackson Williams is following the case.
She said, "I click with him so well." In a further message, Grace Mullane told her friend, "I will let you know what happens tomorrow." As we know, that message, that update was not provided by Grace Mullane because that night prosecutors claim she was murdered.
Up to 20,000 patients in the UK are to be given medical cannabis in one of the largest trials of the drug. It's still not widely available on the NHS, which has upset parents of children with severe epilepsy. Airbnb is verifying every home and room on its platform by December next year. It follows a number of dodgy listings and problems getting refunds. In sports, Tottenham took a big step towards the Champions League knockout stages last night with a 4-0 win at Red Star Belgrade. Manchester City had a night of goalkeeper drama in their 1-1 draw with Atalanta. Edison went off injured. Replacement Claudio Bravo was then sent off. Defender Kyle Walker ended up in goal. In the Europa League, Arsenal drew 1-1 at Vitoria. And Glasgow has been named the cultural and creative capital of the UK. That's the latest. I'm Kevin Gover.
This is Love Sport.
Whether you're waiting for a train or a takeaway, with Tesco Mobile you don't have to wait for a brilliant deal. Our best ever Black Friday event is on. This week you can get a Samsung Galaxy A50 for just $17.49 a month. That's our lowest ever price. Get yours by the 10th of November. Tesco Mobile. Every little helps.
Best ever Black Friday based on range of products in promotion was £18.99, now £17.49. 36-month credit agreement, rolling monthly usage agreement, subject to status, phase policy applies. See tescomobile.com/terms.
Love Sport Radio. On digital radio, online, mobile, and smart speaker. This is Love Sport Breakfast with Richard Lee and Patrick Christys.
Morning, Love Sport Breakfast, Love Sport Radio, me, Richard Lee, Patrick Christys. Let's touch on those headlines. A night of red cards and redemption in the Champions League as Bravo is sent off in Italy and Sun stars in Belgrade. Kyle Walker ended up in goal for City as they drew 1-1 away at Atalanta. Tottenham pushed 4 points clear in third place in Group C with a 4-0 away win against Red Star Belgrade. Arsenal's 100% record is over. They drew with Vitoria 1-0. Emery remained stoic when asked about the possibility of being replaced by Jose Mourinho. We're going to talk about that actually very shortly. Numerous Premiership chairmen want Saracens stripped of their 2018-2019 titles. And is Poch's job safe now? Well, we're going to discuss that right now. Me, Richard Lee, and Patrick Christys.
Music ended abruptly, isn't it?
Enter that music. I didn't like it anyway.
Can I just start somewhere else now, just quickly?
Yeah.
Okay, so, Arsenal hero faced down armed thugs. This is the story about Said Kolasinac and Mesut Ozil, of course, who chased off two moped thugs as one threatens to stab him in the street. There's new footage that emerged at this trial that happened that showed earlier on before the iconic image of, they're around Ozil's car and they've got,
Klasnic going
Machete
mental.
Klasnic doing the whole, whoa, yeah, come at me, bro, thing. Before that, it was even worse. Really? They had a knife to his neck.
Wow.
So they had a knife, kind of threatening with it, and Klasnic is just going, you what, mate? And tries to knock him out. He's wearing a bike helmet. Tries to knock him out. Tries to knock the other guy out as well. Ozil gets in the car and is like, jump in. Klasnic jumps in. The moped guys chase him. They get out. Klasnic goes, come on then if you think you're hard enough, which you're not because I've already seen to you about 100 yards down the road. Does him again-ish. Yeah. And then Ozil runs to a Turkish restaurant.
Wow. Sounds like it was a lot more. That actually makes a bit more sense then when we're speaking about Ozil, the issues that they went through soon after. Does that then make it a little bit more understandable? It was quite bad anyway. The footage we saw was quite bad. Yeah. But this makes it even more understandable.
This does make it even more understandable. Apparently they were after their £200,000 watches. Now, it depends which article you read this, because I heard somewhere else there were £300,000 these watches, but, that's the press, isn't it? So, and his car cost like 160 grand as well, so they were after the lot, really. Anyway, it comes after yesterday, a second thug was convicted of armed robbery. I just think this is absolutely sensational. Not the robbery, of course. Klasnic's response.
Yeah.
What a hero.
No, it's incredible. I did hear a rumour there was a brief period where Ozil had the knife in his hand, but he lost possession of it very, very softly, which was disappointing. But they were safe. That was the main thing. Should we talk a little bit of Tottenham?
Oh, yeah.
Let's talk a bit of Tottenham.
Yeah.
Let's hear what Glenn Hoddle had to say about the Spurs' performance last night and the pressure they faced over performances this season.
Oh, they've been brilliant, haven't they? They really have. And the way they've played, I've really been impressed with them. That's going to be a tough game, but it's something now. Spurs have got to build on this performance. They really have. They've got some... So for them, every game at the moment is going to be tough because until they get back to flowing how we know they're playing, they're under a little bit of pressure.
Wise words from Glenn there. They were very good last night. Are Red Star Belgrade just that bad?
Oh, yeah.
Are we going to appreciate the Tottenham performance a bit more after tonight when United take on Partizan, who are 10 points behind them in the Serbian league?
Yeah, it'll make Red Star Belgrade look like Pep Guardiola's Barcelona, won't it?
When United grind out a 0-0.
Yeah, good game. Front foot football, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's called for. Then he followed it up with, like always. I was like, no.
That's not true, is it, Ollie?
Front foot football, has it?
No. Well, that's my only question about this, is just how bad are Red Star. But Spurs look very, very good, created a lot of chances. Red Star probably should have equalised. They had a couple of good opportunities at 1-0, hit the bar a couple of times in one move. But no, overall, I think it's very pleasing. Poch, it eases the pressure a little bit, or was he ever really under pressure?
No, he was. I think he was under pressure, but I think that there was still a way off before there were serious calls. I think it was that kind of slow build-up, wasn't it? Like before you break up with a partner, there is that period where it's like, right, we're definitely splitting up.
Yeah.
Right, but there's a period just before that where you're like, oh, this doesn't quite feel like it used to feel. And I think that's where we were really with
There's like one or two doors that you can open, one or two tracks you can go down. Either one is redemption and you find a way to make it work, or the other is
massive breakdown.
Where Emery is right now.
Huge break. Oh, right, yeah. So 5. Spurs' son, Heung Min, has 5 goals in just 4 Champions League appearances this season, netting in 3 straight games in the competition. The guy's a decent player, isn't he? Tottenham's victory last night was their first away win in any competition in 9 games this season, and their first win on the road since they beat Ajax in the Champions League 182 days ago.
And it's looking a lot more positive for them now in the group as well, because of course Bayern Munich have won the group, 12 points off their 4 games, 4 wins. Tottenham now 7 points off their 4 games. Red Star in third with 3 points, so they've got that 4-point gap, so they should be fine now for qualification, which is of course good news. Olympiacos really struggling in that group this season, so for Tottenham, no, it's a pleasing day for Tottenham, although it's not going brilliantly in the league. There are signs that they're starting to get back to where they were. Of course, Dele Alli now starting to score more goals as well and looking like he's getting back to where he was, you would argue. Son, I'm glad that, and again, a lot's been made of the tackle at the weekend and the issues and the way in which he responded to it. But on the pitch, he looked energetic as ever. The goals were fantastic. His celebration, I thought, was very respectful.
Yes, exactly. And you talk about going to a place. Look, Red Star Belgrade, I know I kind of slagged them off a little bit there. They're not awful. Obviously, they're not awful. They are playing Champions League football. And a lot of teams go away to places like that and struggle. Well, the reality is that Spurs just stamped their control on that game almost straight away. The first half possession, 72% for Spurs. I mean, they've dominated the ball. They're using it well. 700 odd passes. 620 of them, by the way, completed, which is a fantastic percentage, pass completion percentage. You know, Son's on the score sheet, getting a brace, the whole thing. It just came together a bit, you felt, last night. And it was really a lesson in how to win what could be a little bit of a kind of speed bump of a Champions League fixture in the group stage. Just dominate.
Indeed. Just to touch on a couple of the other results, we're going to speak about Man City, of course. But Real Madrid, 6-0 winners against Galatasaray. Juventus, 2-1 win away. Goal for Aaron Ramsey. 3 minutes in.
Oh, good lad, Rambo.
Yeah, kind of stole it off Ronaldo. I think it was going in anyway, so I don't know how.
Well, he's scored enough, hasn't he?
Well,
he's already got 700.
I know. I think if I was Cristiano Ronaldo, though, every goal that's stolen off me from now on, especially when you're going for possibly an all-time record, I'd be a little bit annoyed. So, I mean, we could just create a rumour now that there's a massive issue between Ronaldo and Ramsey. I mean, we could start that.
Hate each other.
Yeah, despise.
I did read an article yesterday, actually, from Douglas Costa, who was saying that Ronaldo, his quote was, "You always see him with his top off, and as a result, we've all reduced our body fat percentages." So Cristiano Ronaldo's physique alone is bullying other people, other professional football players, into losing weight.
Well, do you know what? And that links us quite nicely. Tosic, who is playing against Manchester United tonight. It's a really interesting article with him in one of the papers today, where he talks about the fact before he joined United, or when he joined United, he didn't even know what a gym was. Literally. They had obviously didn't have the facilities over there, and he said the move came too soon for him, and of course he did struggle at United. But he is playing against Manchester United tonight, so a good opportunity for him.
Yes, he is. I remember him very, very fondly, actually, and he was actually a good bit of a... I know he only played about 5 times. I think he played a total of 79 minutes for Manchester United.
Right.
But the fans just warmed to him because he basically looked like a little boy. There's a picture of him, his very first appearance for United. I remember this. He replaced Cristiano Ronaldo in an FA Cup game. And he's on the sidelines, and his shorts come down past his knee.
Yeah.
Oh, just want to... Oh, it looked like it was his first day at school. And he comes onto the pitch, and there was never any indication from him, from anyone at United, that he was anything other than a bloke who dedicated himself to it and tried very hard. But what is interesting, you're right, Rich, is that when he first signed, he said he'd never seen a gym. He didn't know. And he just wasn't ready. He just wasn't ready. He was known as Bambi in Belgrade because apparently he was essentially addicted to that's the name of biscuit that they have over there in Serbia. And so it was a real culture shock to him. He was supposed to come with one of his teammates, Lalic, who didn't end up making it because of work permit issues. So he was isolated. He was alone. And he just said he really struggled because he had Ryan Giggs at the time, who I think was 36 at the time, who he said would arrive 3 hours early before training. It was gym before and after training, and he just said, look, he wished he'd had his time again. But then he was at Euros, I think it was, and they got a phone call to say United want to change your number, and he was like, no, I'm off.
Yeah, that might be.
That might be that,
isn't it? Yeah, that might be that. Giggs, of course, a lot of yoga for Giggs. One of the reasons he went on as long as he did. Brad Friedel, he used to do a lot of yoga when I was at Blackburn. Every morning, every afternoon, you go in there and he's doing the tree pose.
Right, what's that?
Do you not know yoga poses?
I know downward dog.
Do you?
Downward dog, happy baby.
Happy baby. I
like
that's
happy
probably
baby.
your favourite of the poses.
Yeah, no, that is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lotus?
No idea.
No, we won't talk about yoga for too much longer. I feel like we're past it. Yeah, let's talk. We'll talk a little bit about Ronaldo, talk a little bit about Juventus. Of course, a good win for them. I actually want to move on more so to the rugby.
Yeah.
Because this is going to run and run, as we suspected it might. We touched on it yesterday, and actually everyone we spoke to seemed to share a similar opinion. However, today's stories are suggesting that a lot of people are sharing a very different opinion, one whereby Saracens should be stripped of titles, that the punishment should be even harsher.
Well, there's something that's going underreported here, at least. I mean, I've had a look for it. I can't see it in the papers today, really, about the impact that this might have on the individual players involved. Because HMRC are going to be all over this like a rash. So just in case just to fill people in on what's happened, Saracens been at the pinnacle of British rugby and European rugby, actually, really, for a while now. Saracens were docked 35 points and fined £5.36 million for salary cap breaches of their players. There's a standard £7 million salary cap in the Premier League. That can be raised to around 9 mil, as it was with Sarries, because they had so many homegrown players. They had the likes of Owen Farrell, Mario Itoje, the Vunipolas brothers, etc. So, anyway, it looked like they breached that cap. But the investigative body declared that they hadn't done it intentionally. And what it really centres around is that the owner, Nigel Ray, had set up investment firms and businesses with these players to secure them an income outside rugby, to maybe preserve their future after they retire as well, but also, let's be honest, give them a bit of extra cash, right? Now, that is not technically illegal, but it's been adjourned to a judge to warrant that massive fine. Now, a lot of people are coming out of the woodwork today. Strip Saracens of 2 titles. So they won the titles, 16, 17, 18, and 2 European titles as well. And they are being, there's allegations that they should be stripped of those and they should be given to essentially Exeter. Now, you can understand why other teams might be quite annoyed about this, and I get that, but for me, one thing that's going underreported is the impact of on the likes of Owen Farrell or Maro Itoje or whatever, who I imagine, come the end of January, are going to get slapped with an absolutely savage tax bill from HMRC for this.
I'll tell you what, I want to go into this a little bit deeper. Is that okay? Let's do it next.
This is Love Sport.
The Novotel London Blackfriars, the official hotel partner of Love Sport. Located just minutes away from the city and London's famous South Bank. You can kick back and taste the flavours of the world at the Jamboree Bar and Grill and enjoy all the sights of London in style. The Novotel London Blackfriars.
How are you? How are you really? Modern life can be busy, and sometimes it's easier to look after others before looking after yourself. But there's only one you. And making small changes to your lifestyle now could improve your chances of staying healthier longer. So take the first step to a healthier you with our free How Are You quiz. See how you score and get personalised tips and support. From how to eat a little healthier to turning a 10-minute walk into exercise. Just search 1U.
You probably think you're pretty good at multitasking behind the wheel. I mean, you have to multitask to drive. So what's wrong with checking your phone? The thing is, your brain simply doesn't work. Even a quick look at a message, or firing off a quick reply, affects your concentration and makes you less able to react to hazards. If you use a mobile phone while driving, you're 4 times more likely to crash. Think. Put your phone away.
Before you set off on a long journey, remember to check your vehicle. Are your tyres correctly inflated? And are the treads deep enough? Have you got enough fuel? Is your oil level right? Checking your vehicle doesn't take long, but can prevent a breakdown or accident. And save you money. So, before you set off on a long journey, check your tyres, fuel, and oil. Highways England, connecting the country.
If you see somebody showing any of the signs of a stroke, you don't have to think about it, you just dial 999. Use the FAST test. F. Face. Has their face fallen on one side? Can they smile? A. Arms. Can they raise both arms and keep them there? S. Speech. Is their speech slurred? T. Time. Time to call 999 if you see any one of these signs. Act fast, make the call, dial 999.
Love Sport.
That's for breakfast, me, actually. Patrick Christys, I want to talk to you about Edison. We're going to talk rugby first, but I do want to talk about Edison because it looks like he's going to miss the game at the weekend. Of course, Claudio Bravo came on yesterday. Wasn't his best game, and he did get sent off, of course. Kyle Walker came
Actually,
on.
it was one of his best games.
Right. We're going to talk about Edison, and I'm going to try and defend Bravo as best I possibly can. Let's continue this rugby chat, though, because Saracens, the narrative seems to have changed a bit today from certain people, although I guess the people that are coming out and saying that they should be docked the titles, the last 2 titles that they've won, Exeter should be given those titles. These are from other clubs. Other clubs are saying this. So there is a very obvious agenda there?
Yes, so it's a collection of Premiership chairmen that want Exeter to be made 2018 and 2019 champions. So a number of Premiership club chairmen want to push for Saracens to be stripped of those league titles from the past 2 seasons and give them to runners-up Exeter Chiefs. So in the rules of Premier Rugby, which all clubs have signed up to, there is no option to punish a team retrospectively for breaking the £7 million annual salary cap in each of the past 3 seasons, as Saracens have done. However, some clubs feel that the extent of their breach is so great that this should be overturned and Exeter should be handed the titles. Now, look, this clearly is an unpopular opinion because this is an opinion it appears to not be shared by any of the major press at the moment. I think this whole thing's ridiculous. I think it's absolutely nuts, right? What's the point of You've got to dangle a carrot in front of someone. You've got to incentivise someone. It's the same reason why people need to feel that one day they might be able to own their own home, or might be able to buy their own car, or whatever. You need to give people that little bit of hope, even if you smash it to smithereens in their 40s. But, this is the thing. So, if you are worth 350 million, as Sarri's owner, Nigel Ray, is, and there are a shocking amount of those people, by the way, that have that kind of cash, and you want to do something with it, if you tell them that, well, okay, you can invest in rugby, but you've got quite a miserly salary cap, and we're going to be absolutely all over you like a rash, then basically you're saying to them, well, there's no guarantee that you're ever going to win anything, but you will be sinking millions of pounds every single year into this place.
And this is where I know I'm biased, because I'm from a football background and I see what's happening in the Premier League. I remember when the Premier League was initially formed and the way in which it's grown since then. You remember the likes of Roy Keane joining for however many million. I think it was $3.5 grand a week at the time, and we thought at the time that was crazy. But then what's ended up happening is it's grown. It is now the best league in the world. Everybody wants to come to England. There are certain sanctions in place, but they're nowhere near as strict as rugby. And I just think that if rugby is going to grow and become an even bigger game, I appreciate it's big, but to become the kind of game where we do attract then the talent from all over the world, it just seems that these caps being in place are restrictive. Yeah. This does, to me, and again, I've got a bias here because of my background, the idea of actually going into business as well, providing they're legitimate, that's the bit I would say. But if you're creating a business with, isn't it? And that is the thing, and I appreciate that if then it comes out that these aren't legitimate businesses and it's just a way to funnel money, then fine. But actually, with a lot of these, I would more than happily go into business with pretty much every Saracens player, because you've got someone who's got a profile. Now, if they've got a passion for something and they've got the profile already, it gives them a head start. You know, you mentioned it, Andre is not an idiot. He will be going into business with these. If he's doing it, you would think to make a profit. Yeah. This comes back to the point, though. If they're not legitimate and it's just a way to funnel money, then yes, I do understand the issues here.
Right, so we go into international tournaments with England. The expectation, rightly, is very, very high. The expectation is that we get to a final, whether it's a World Cup, or whether it's Six Nations, whatever. That's where we're at, okay? And in order to go and play at that level and compete at that level, all right, okay, we didn't play that well against South Africa, but we had a great tournament. New Zealand was basically our final. You only get a performance like that from a group of lads who are competing at the thick end of club rugby, who are playing in finals of their own, whether it's leagues, cups, whatever, European cups. It's only by having that experience that you can then translate that into success on a pitch against the All Blacks. Now, if we continue with this salary cap here in rugby, what will happen is, especially all the best foreign players, they will go and play in France, where you can get paid an absolute shed load of cash. But England's players aren't allowed to play abroad. If they do play abroad, then they don't get picked for England. So you end up with our national team playing in a worse league against worse players, not getting to play in the biggest games, but they're still expected to go and win a World Cup final.
I don't get it. I'd love someone to come on and give me this explanation. And what I go back to as well, if you're a kid and your parents, I see this all the time. I go to a lot of under 18 games, under 23 games, and you see it with the parents. They want their kids, obviously, to grow up and be professional footballers. Now, that's not always necessarily a good thing. I hold my hands up, and sometimes it can be a bit toxic. But you can understand where, from a parent's point of view, if a child's got a talent and they know they've got a talent for football, they're going to nurture it, knowing that if they become a Premier League footballer, then they're not only going to set themselves up, but generations to come. Whereas with rugby, it's not necessarily the case, but it could be the case because there's so many people that absolutely love rugby. Nigel Ray loves rugby. He's been involved for however long, losing however much money, but purely for the love of the game. This is the kind of thing that would then put someone like him or a very wealthy owner off the idea of owning a rugby club. Surely, why not? Why wouldn't you go and buy a Charlton? We've said it before. Actually, with a Charlton, you might have the potential to go to the Premier League. You have the potential to make some money. You have the potential to bring in world-class stars as and when they grow. Bolton Wanderers. There was a period of time when they had the likes of a Kocher and whoever else playing for them, Djorkaeff.
Yeah, exactly. Look, I couldn't agree with you more, right? And look, there are, as Owen Slot rightly says in the Times, chief rugby correspondent, he rightly says, look, the suspicion among rival clubs is that these investments, these are the fact that the Owen Farrell, Maro Itoje, Richard Wigglesworth and the Vunipola brothers were all in business with owner Nigel Ray. They all had various investment firms. The suspicion, and it is fair to be suspicious of this, is that actually these were made at the start of new contracts, these new businesses, and that they were, money was put into them and it allowed them to pay their players a salary that was actually below what they were worth, hence getting around the salary cap, right? Yeah, all right. So what that proves to me is that Nigel Ray is a fantastic businessman who is capable of thinking outside the box, personally, and has managed to see something, look at it and go, right, well, those are the rules. and here's what I'm going to do because the rules let me do this. And this is for me where it comes out, which is that if you are a chief exec or an owner or whatever of another club, right, he's done you. He's absolutely done you. He's managed to assemble the best team, which you're jealous of. He's managed to win things, which you're jealous of. He's managed to essentially skirt around the rules until now, which you're jealous of. He's got more money than you, which you're jealous of. There's the thing there, isn't there?
I guess this is the point, and this is where look, and I'm always open to someone telling me that I'm wrong. Of course, if someone rings up and they've got an idea as to why this is how it is, and whether there is a rule that states you cannot do this, and they have legitimately broken rules or they funneled the money, whatever. If someone can do that, then that's absolutely fine. I think the point is, you made a good point yesterday. Look, we all get taxed. Now, for those that have businesses, you appreciate there are certain ways in which you can minimise your tax, legitimate ways in which you can minimise. And if there's ways that you can do that and you're just about the right side of the law, that's okay.
Yeah, massively. Look, man, like the thing is, I'm always this. I don't like the idea. I find something horrible about the fact that the super rich, or not even super rich, just the very rich, can pay less tax than I do. Amazon, I think I'm right in saying in this country, pays less tax than I do, which is nuts, right? And it shouldn't be the case. However, the law allows them to do it. Yeah. I'm not angry with Amazon. I'm not angry with the royal family for, the Panama Papers thing and all this kind of jazz. I'm not, because they're allowed to do it. I'm angry with the law that lets them do it. So change that. It's the Donald Trump angle, isn't it? Hillary Clinton, Donald doesn't pay any tax. Well, yeah, because you let me. Yeah. And that's it. You were in power, your husband was in power for years and years and years and did not change the law. And this is it. So that's why I get wound up at it. But on that theme, I think there are these England players now, well, potentially others as well, who are about to get absolutely shafted by HMRC. Owen Farrell, Maro Itoje, Richard Wigglesworth and the Vunipola brothers. I think right now there's probably a team of Sudoku-loving boffins at HMRC there, sifting through these investment firms.
Although I love Sudoku. You any good?
Absolutely not. No, never tried.
You're not?
Well, I'm not good with numbers. I've got like maths dyslexia.
Have you?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm better than you at that as well. Have you had enough of extortionate rises when you renew your insurance?
Not enough of you.
You could be saving big money by switching to a cheaper deal. A spokesman said.com compares all the best deals on car and home insurance to find you the one that saves you the most cash. Go to a spokesman said.com and start saving today.
This is Love Sport.
Edison got injured last night.
Yeah.
Yeah, a sharp change of subject.
Yeah.
A sharp change of subject.
I was
getting a little bit Dutch there.
Yeah. Steve McLaren's here. Come on. Hello, Steve. How are you, mate? Yes, very good, thanks.
Edison got injured last night. Could well miss the game against Liverpool. Thankfully, they've got Claudio Bravo, who's going to step in.
Yeah, no, the title's gone.
It's not gone.
That's it. It's done.
Do you know what? I'm really intrigued, though, how bad this injury is, because he, for me... What?
I can just see them like, oh, he's perhaps named Edison as the keeper. They just wheel him out on a mobility scooter. He just comes out on the pitch. They like tip him out of it. They're like, right, he just lies across the goal with his hand out like this for 90 minutes.
I guess the worry for Claudio Bravo is whether they name Carl Walker ahead of him for the game at the weekend.
Imagine.
Well, Carl Walker now has been put as a goalkeeper on the Man City website, which annoys me so much, given that you dedicate 20 years to your craft and someone like Kyle steps in and does a job and keeps a clean sheet. We've had enough of you, Kyle. However, Claudio Bravo, he didn't do himself any favours last night, came on, looked shaky, nearly caught in possession a couple of times. The City defence did look shakier with him there. Now, to back him up and to give him a little bit of love, I feel it is difficult coming on in a game, especially coming on away from home. You're 1-0 up, you've got everything to lose, and in the end, that's what happened. He made a dreadful decision to come out and make the challenge and get sent off. Hopefully, he's able to get his mindset right for the game at the weekend, because if he doesn't, and Liverpool do win, and Liverpool have a 9-point gap going into the national break, and if Edison's injury is bad, we spoke about Alisson's injury at the start of the season and whether Adrian coming in would impact them. Credit to Adrian, they won every single game. Now, will they win every single game with Bravo in goal? I just think that Edison is that good and the City defence are that used to him and he makes such an impact on that team. I'm a bit concerned for City.
Do you reckon they recall Muric? He's at Forest, isn't he?
He is, but he's had a dreadful time there.
Is he still having a dreadful time?
He's had a really tough time. Yeah, they've been playing. They brought a guy in from France who's been playing ahead of him. So, and Muric, by the way, did okay last night. But City have got a little bit of a keeper problem at the moment, because if they don't play Bravo, there's nobody else.
They've got Scott Carson.
I mean, it's not the worst shout.
I mean, I rate him.
No, I do.
I'll be honest with you now. When I think of, all right, I know that he did make quite a bad mistake once years ago when he was playing for England. Okay, fine, whatever. But I've seen Claudio. I think Claudio Bravo's, from what I've seen anyway, just a worse goalkeeper. I've seen him make more very high-profile mistakes than Scott Carson.
I agree. By the way, so producer Mark puts lots of information on our screen, interesting facts from time to time.
Right.
Charlton 2006 Player of the Year. There you go.
Scott Carson.
Yes. There you go. I mean, I don't know if that has anything to do with this argument whatsoever.
And can Claudio Bravo say that?
No, he wasn't the Charlton Player
No, he wasn't.
of the Year.
He wasn't even close.
Never been anywhere near Charlton. No, he hasn't. He was 20 years old and on loan. There you go. Some great info for you. What I would say, Scott Carson, I actually agree. I do agree, because I think basically what you've got with Scott Carson, what you've got with Claudio Bravo, for me, is you've got a better goalkeeper in Scott Carson. Then you've got someone who's better with the ball at their feet with Claudio Bravo. But even that, he takes so many chances. And I think when you're playing this game at the weekend, I'll be honest, I think a draw is okay. A draw's enough. If they can go to Anfield and they can get a draw, I think every City fan would take that right now. 6 points going into the national break, that's not unassailable. 9 points, given that Liverpool only lost one game the whole of last season, given that Liverpool only dropped, 16 points the whole of last season?
I think Liverpool will score 4. And it's up to City. I can see that being 4-4. I could see City scoring 5. Don't get me wrong, but I think Liverpool will definitely score 4 this weekend. They look good for me. They look good. They look fresh. And I think they're just going to be so buoyed by the idea of Comedy Claudio in goal.
He's not called Comedy Claudio. He's not called Calamity Claudio.
Coco the Clown Claudio.
No, he's not called that. Patrick, come on, you know this upsets me.
Okay.
He's Claudio. We're going to talk Man United next.
This is Love Sport.
You're in leakage, you're in leakage. You're in leakage, you're in leakage. You're in leakage. You're in leakage, you're in leakage.
Henna men. Pants and pads.
You're
discreet. Masculine.
You're
secure absorption zone. Buy online or in shops.
You're in
Tenna men. Keep control.
You're in?
No.
Hi, my name's Kurt Edwards. I work in advertising and live in Surrey. Last year, the family content insurance was £745. A friend of mine had recommended a spokesmansaid.com. When it came for this year's renewal, I managed to get it for £403. So for those 10 minutes on that website, I saved over £340. Told my family, my friends, you'd be absolutely mad not to give it a go.
Thespokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money.
Whoa! Look how much saturated fat is in these chocolate biscuits. It's surprising how much is in our food and drinks. For us kids, eating too much saturated fat can lead to harmful fat building up inside, which we can't see, increasing the risk of heart disease or stroke when we get older. So be food smart. Download the free Change for Life food scanner app and start making healthier choices today.
There are many things a mother can pass on to her baby. Her smile, her eye colour, and her immunity to whooping cough. Whooping cough is a very dangerous illness for young babies, and at the moment it's spreading fast. A simple vaccination during your pregnancy can help to protect your baby in their first weeks. Please speak to your GP, nurse, or healthcare professional and pass on your immunity.
Love Sport.
That's for breakfast, mutually, Patrick. Christys. Right, we spoke a lot of City. We spoke a lot of Tottenham today. You know we haven't spoke of? Actually, we spoke a bit of Arsenal as well. But you know what we have not spoke of? A team that are playing today. Your team.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Manchester United.
A little bit of Manchester United. And we have got Jay from Full-Time Devils on the line to discuss them with us. Morning, Jay.
Morning, guys. You okay?
Morning, yeah, we're good, thanks, we're good. Right, this game tonight, we were talking, last night Spurs, of course, beat Red Star, and they beat them pretty convincingly. Does that mean United go and smash Partizan tonight?
Well, I'd like to think so. I'd hope to think so. I mean, we've got a decent result away now. It's our first away win, I think, in months and months. But United haven't been really smashing anyone. Since the opening day against Chelsea, where we all thought, oh, this is great, Ollie's at the wheel again, we haven't really looked like that convincing. So, by rights, yeah, you'd expect us to get a win tonight, a convincing win, but smashing wins have been hard to come by at Old Trafford or at United recently, so I'm not holding my breath.
Yeah, just reading today, apparently Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has said he, quote, wants to play front foot football, and he's urging his players to be more attack-minded. Well, for you, because you go to a lot of the games and everything, where do you think it's been going wrong in an attacking sense? Because we have had to rely a lot on dead ball situations for our goals.
Yeah, I think part of the problem for me is we took a lot of goals out of the team, And we didn't replace him. When I say we took a lot of goals out of the team, I mean, we sold Lukaku, we let Sanchez leave. All right, you can argue he didn't score a lot of goals. Even like Pereira and Fellaini scored some goals. But we didn't bring anyone in who was really an attacking player. So even Romelu Lukaku, I mean, listen, he didn't have a great season last season. At times he was pretty sort of woeful to watch. But he weighed in with a lot of goals. I think he scored something like 40-odd goals in 9 games for Manchester United, which is quite a decent return. Now, if you're going to sell him, that's fair enough, but you want to bring someone in. And we just became overly reliant on the likes of Marcus Rashford, Anthony Martial, and Mason Greenwood, who's only just turned 18. And I think that what we're all hoping for is that Marcus Rashford and Anthony Martial can sort of get 50 goals between them, which is something they've never done before. And then Mason Greenwood can chip in with some as well. So I think sort of what the problem is you're taking out experience, taking out goal scorers, and you're not bringing anyone in. You're becoming reliant on players who, even in the best seasons, sort of get you sort of 12, 13 goals and hoping they're kicking on. And it's just not happened so far. They've scored some goals, Marcus Rashford and Anthony Martial, but they haven't been hitting the big numbers that are needed to carry this team. Because if you look elsewhere, there's not many goals coming from elsewhere. Jesse Lingard, I don't think, has scored in over a year. Juan Mata barely plays. Fred and Pereira aren't really goal scorers. So you're relying on your strikers, and they're just not up to the standards that have gone before in terms of the prolificness.
Yeah, it's true, but that is a problem in the transfer market, isn't it? And who do you blame for that? Do you think that Solskjaer was sat there telling Ed Woodward, look, I like what I've got here, I like what I see, we don't need to get anyone? Or do you think that Ed Woodward is maybe just a little bit incapable in the transfer market?
I think it may be a little bit of both. I do think Edward was completely incapable in the transfer market. We saw last week he was saying something along the lines of he's not going to be involved in transfer dealings anymore. I don't understand why he was in the first place, to be honest with you. I mean, he's an investment banker. What does he know about football transfers? He doesn't know anything. And yet he was the man who was making certain decisions on transfers. It's absolutely crackers for a club the size of Manchester United to be running such a way. Now, all he seems to have focused on is defence. We brought in, obviously, two big money defenders. Okay, yeah, Dan James as well, which is a bit of a sort of risk-free bet, if you will, because you bring in a £15 million player and it doesn't work out, no one's really going to question that. So he sort of focused on his defence and was happy to let the likes of Lukaku and Sanchez go, but didn't seem that determined or that worried about replacing them, which he's got to take some responsibility for, because he may have felt that, yes, Mason Greenwood's coming through, he's great, and Marcus Rashford, you know, he's getting to that age where he expects him to kick on, but it was very short-sighted. And as a manager, you've got to be able to say, listen, we're going to struggle this season if we don't bring in some more attackers. And I can't believe that he thought, or he was that confident in just having 3 strikers, one of whom was 17 years old at the time, and another 2 who, as I said earlier, have never really hit prolific figures.
Yeah, Rashford, by the way, thinks a top 4 finish isn't out of the question. In terms of winning some silverware, though, is it fair to say that the best chance might be the Europa League or maybe the League Cup, FA Cup, realistically?
Yeah, we've got to be honest. I mean, we're not going to win the league, are we? That's never going to happen. So if you look at the trophies that are available, the FA Cup, League Cup, I mean, some of the bigger teams don't take those trophies as seriously as well as we may. You know, I know we don't always play our strongest team in Europa, but even in the FA Cup now, some teams sort of who are challenging for the top 4, challenging for the title, will rest players there. So that may be our best chance, and it's a good trophy, the FA Cup. But look here, we've got a decent result away at Stamford Bridge in the League Cup, so there's a possibility there. And we've seen it before in the Europa League under Jose, where if top 4 is out of the question, well, under Jose it wasn't even out of the question. He just went for the Europa League and started resting everyone in the league, sort of from January onwards. But I think if we can't get to the top 4 and you look at it and you think, I want to get Champions League football, then the Europa League may become the best option. I think once you get through to those knockout stages, those later rounds, you may start playing your stronger team and really going for it.
Yeah, I just want to pick your brains on something before we just return to a little bit more of the on-the-field stuff, because I tend to give it quite large about, like, irresponsible football club owners and how, clubs sell their soul and, World Cups in Qatar and all this kind of stuff. But the Glazers are making some noises about that they might potentially be looking to sell up. And a persistent rumour is that King Abdullah is in the mix, is one of the Saudi members of the Saudi royal family over there. As a United fan, as I am, like, full disclosure, would you care who came in and bought United, as long as it meant that, we ended up with just a ridiculous-sized transfer kitty and the good times were back again?
It's really difficult, I think, for me personally, and I think it is a personal choice, to just turn a blind eye to a lot of those sort of, well, not rumours, but they are with the fact that
I know what you mean.
Yeah, about those families you've mentioned and some of the human rights abuses and things that the accused of being guilty of. can you just sit there and say, oh, well, that's nothing to do with this and just enjoy the football? I don't know. It would be a little bit hypocritical as well from some of us, because I've given City fans a bit of stick on the way that they've been able to turn a blind eye to it. Would I be able to do the same? I'm not so sure, to be honest with you. I think it's one of those where you'd have to make a decision when it happened. If I'm being honest, I think I would struggle just to say, oh, well, I'm sat here watching Mbappe and Neymar. I don't care who owns the club and what they've been up to in their own country. I don't know if I could do that. I don't know. And I think that despite the fact I can't stand the Glazers and I want rid of them, I don't know if I'd be happy being taken over by a family that was just doing it to give themselves a good bit of PR because they're up to some pretty atrocious actions.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Obviously, game this weekend, Brighton at home. He actually came to this fixture last year, 2-1 win, if I remember rightly. Tough game. Brighton actually showing some signs of progress under Graham Potter. How do you see this one playing out?
Well, this is one of the games where, a couple of seasons ago, if you Brighton at home, no worries. But the way United have been playing against, no disrespect to Brighton, but the so-called lesser teams, has been a real worry this season. Crystal Palace come to Old Trafford and get a result. We struggled away at Newcastle. We didn't struggle. We lost away at Newcastle. We lost away at West Ham. We lost away at Bournemouth. So it's been a bit weird at United this season because, like I said earlier, we beat Chelsea and we beat Leicester, who are flying. Yet against the teams that are sort of middle, lower table, we really struggled. And as you just said there, I like what Graham Potter's doing at Brighton. A lot of people questioned it when Chris Hughton was left and Graham Potter came in, but he seems to be playing some good football and getting some good results. And I think this is a really tricky game. I'm a little bit worried, and it pains me to say this because you'd expect Manchester United to be able to beat the likes of Brighton at home. But I think this could be a difficult one. I really do, and I think we need to be a bit careful here. We've got to play our strongest possible team. You can't take any chances with this one.
No, great stuff. Jay, appreciate you joining us. That's Jay from Full-Time Devils there, giving us his thoughts on United's game this evening against Partizan Belgrade. And, of course, they have got Brighton at home at the weekend. Will be a tricky game. Do you know the last time United played Partizan?
When?
1965. Nobby Stiles with the winning goal.
Really?
There you go.
He didn't have any teeth, did he?
No, I don't think he did.
No, he's
bit of an icon, bit of a Manchester United icon, isn't he?
Definitely.
It was that era with...
Well, we used to have a collection of funny-looking people, didn't we? Bobby Charlton.
I know, I mean...
What was that about?
Do you reckon that'll ever come back, that hairdo?
Well, it literally can't come back, can it?
Well, no, obviously it can't. But do you think anyone... That one strand, the kind of Homer Simpson
literal
look...
one strand of hair across the top. What was the point of that?
I know, but it was for a period of time. That was the look.
But this is what I don't get. Like, either glue a wig on... or let it go, mate. There's never anyone like you see Bobby Charlton getting out of the shower and go, "Wow, I didn't know you were bald." No, Bobby.
You've been hiding that so well.
Where's that top of head been? Yeah.
You kind of left with the decision. Things have moved on since. But back then, do you think... In fact, everybody has that. Anyone that's follically challenged, they'll have that at some point where you get to that point where you're like, okay, do I shave it yet? Do I shave it yet? Do I shave it yet? And people cling. They cling.
Yeah,
they cling.
I'm really, really happy about this, right? There was a lad at school who was always just better than me at everything, right? And, he's completely bald now.
Oh,
yeah.
Is that like karma? Do you know, you're a bit of a hater though, aren't you?
It feels so good.
No, but does it? I mean,
I go back to what I do sometimes to remind him of the glory days is I'll go through his Facebook profile and I'll like a picture from when we were at school together when he had a full head of hair. Just so he has to look at it, and then he looks in the mirror.
Wow. Yeah. I learn so much more about you every day, and unfortunately, it gets more and more concerning.
Absolutely.
Yep, fantastic. We're going to be talking to Paul Miller, former Spurs defender. Of course, Spurs won 4-0 last night. 2 goals for Son, a goal for Lo Celso, and Ericsson as well. 17 minutes to wait.
Giving your team the coverage they deserve. Love Sport Radio.
You're in leakage, you're in leakage. You're in leakage, you're in leakage. You're in leakage. You're in leakage, you're in leakage.
Tenna men. Pants and pads.
You're
discreet. Masculine.
You're right.
Secure absorption zone. Buy online or in shops.
You're in.
Tenna men. Keep control.
You're in.
No.
Can you save money on your energy bills? Tony did, with help from a spokesmansaid.com. Getting people real savings.
I'm Tony from Northampton. My bills for gas and electricity had gone straight through the roof. I chose a Spokesman Said, and they saved me £2,800. It was so easy, I used them for my house and contents insurance too.
For help saving money on your energy bills, go to a spokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money.
Oh, it's okay. Let's face it, when your kids are ill, you'd do anything to help them feel better. But remember, antibiotics aren't always needed. You might not realise it, but taking antibiotics when you don't need them puts you and your family at risk of a longer and more severe illness. Help keep your family well. Always take your doctor's advice on antibiotics. Search NHS antibiotics. All better.
Before you set off on a long journey, remember to check your vehicle. Are your tyres correctly inflated? And are the treads deep enough? Have you got enough fuel? Is your oil level right? Checking your vehicle doesn't take long, but can prevent a breakdown or accident, and save you money. So, before you set off on a long journey, check your tyres, fuel, and oil. Highways England, connecting the country.
This is Love Sport.
That's for breakfast from you, actually, Patrick Christys. We're going to be talking Tottenham with Paul Miller shortly. Want to just touch on Arsenal before we do talk about Tottenham. Mourinho to Arsenal. He was actually asked this yesterday. Unai Emery was asked about Mourinho and the rumours surrounding Mourinho.
That's a bit horrible,
isn't it? A little bit mean.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't
It's
know.
like no one asked my girlfriend about Jerome, you know?
No. Who, by the way, you've become friendly with. It's nice
Well,
that.
I've had to, yeah.
I mean, he's there regularly at the moment.
All the time.
Yeah. Do you ever question that?
No, just making breakfast and we move on.
Fantastic. So, Arsene Wenger as well. I want to touch on Arsene. He has gone, well, potentially going to Bayern Munich until the end of the season.
Yeah.
You still thinking about Jerome?
Right, Arsene Wenger. Right, look, I'm not sure about the merits of this, to be perfectly honest with you.
Yeah.
I know. Look, if it is a stopgap, then fair play. If it's a stopgap with somebody that you have lined up who's currently managing another club who won't be able to leave before the end of the season, then I get that. But I'm just not sure about it at all. Arsene Wenger's known for being quite hands-off in a sense, isn't he? Like in terms of with the players, he's quite, he's very supportive of the players. He's not one to give a bit of a rocket up the backside. And at Bayern, they do need a bit of a kick up the backside, don't they?
They're not having a great season. I think it's fair to say. They're very good in the Champions League, of course. I think that. I don't know, is Arsene Wenger the type? Because we always talk of, I know it's a bit of a cliche, but it's a Sam Allardyce coming in to then sort out a team like mid-season if you need results. So Tony Pulis, etc. Arsene Wenger for me is more of he'll build a project like he did with Arsenal initially. And now I know towards the end it obviously went very, very sour, but actually initially he built a project. He was part of the transition to the new stadium. It was a long-term thing. I guess we just haven't seen him go in and have an instant impact, which he did initially at Arsenal, if I remember rightly. So maybe he has got that in the locker. But I guess if he's going into Bayern Munich, I don't know.
You know what? Actually, part of me really wants to see it because I only know. I think most people really only know Arsene Wenger from Arsenal. I certainly wasn't following him around Japanese football where he was before. I wasn't even alive actually. So I actually do want to go and see what he can do. I like the guy. Like he is nice. You know what I mean?
Well, that's the thing he'll have. If he goes in there, he'll have the respect of the player.
Yeah.
Which when you're going into a club like that, that's actually bigger than anything. I'll be honest, because if you're bringing in, we talk about Eduardo Halzini, or AKA Eddie Howe, or vice versa. But Eddie Howe, like if he were to go into Bayern Munich right now, no one will know who he is. So of course it would make it'd be on the back foot from the off. It'd have to win them over, which might take time. When you're dealing with egos, that can be very tough. So this is why you'll see the likes of a Chris Wilder, when you haven't necessarily got the name and you can't necessarily step in like a Frank Lampard and have that respect instantly. You have to earn it. You have to build it, which he's done over a period of years. Eddie Howe has done it over a period of years, and step by step, he's getting closer to one of those top jobs, as far as I'm concerned. Arsene Wenger has done a top job, so he will go into Bayern Munich. Everybody will know who he is. He's got that respect from the off. It's just then, can he gain success given his approach?
Well, look, he's got every chance. If you were going to go into a league, right, managing a league with a team, your best chance of winning that league and any league in the world is probably with Bayern Munich in Germany.
Yeah,
I reckon there or thereabouts. That's they just win it all the time, don't they? Previously, it probably was Juventus in Italy, right?
Yeah.
So he's got a chance. There's no doubt about it. Arsene Wenger may well end up, adding to his silverware collection, and I do wish him all the best. But I'm worried that it might go completely the other way. I'm worried that it might actually tarnish what is a fine legacy from a fine man. Actually, let's just say the wheels properly come off at Bayern, because as well, what attitude would the players have? You would know, Rich. Look, in walks, this 70-year-old bloke who's only there for 7 months, 8 months. How do the players react to that? Does it give you that new manager bounce realistically?
Would I care about the age? Probably not. No, I think it could. I mean, looking at Bayern Munich, we touched on the fact they're doing well in the Champions League, won all 4 games, of course, top of Tottenham's group, which, by the way, would be hilarious if Arsene Wenger played against Tottenham.
Oh, yeah.
Very funny. But in the Bundesliga, they've only won 1 in the last 4. They've been pretty poor in the Bundesliga, currently 4th. They're 4 points off top, which Bayern Munich are never 4 points off top. Of course, Mönchengladbach, top Borussia Dortmund, Jadon Sancho, etc. in second. I mean, look, would he have the instant impact? Yeah, I think he could. I don't think age necessarily matters. He would come in with a fresh impetus. And actually, it's a new start. Part of the issue at Arsenal was the fact that it just got stale. It wasn't necessarily that... And actually, the argument, of course, that football overtook him, that it modernised and he didn't necessarily move. It would be interesting to see what he did if he went into Bayern Munich. Would he adopt a similar style? Has he been doing work away? We don't really know what he's been up to fully since he left Arsenal. He might have gone back into studying the game further. Like, if he's got that much passion for it, we don't know. And it might be that Arsene Wenger takes over and suddenly we see a completely different style of football.
Well, look, apparently Bayern Munich have identified Ajax manager Erik ten Hag, but he said he's unwilling to leave his post in the season. And Tommy Tuchel has made it clear that he wanted to stay at PSG. So you've got there's another contender, head of sports and development at Red Bull, Ralf Rangnick. Is also out of the running, apparently. He's been recommended to Manchester United, replacing Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, but it looks like they obviously United are going to keep him. So Wenger speaks fluent German as well. It's not as far as stopgaps go. He's not a bad one, and I hope that if he does get there, he does incredibly well. But I hope fundamentally he enjoys himself, because I think towards the end of his tenure at Arsenal, he wasn't, and that's something that came across. He's done a couple of, for Arsene Wenger, quite emotional interviews, but it's a little bit like getting emotion out of a stone, I think, isn't it? But you know, where he is saying that, you know, he does miss it, and I think he didn't quite necessarily appreciate how good it was while he was there.
Yeah, indeed. Well, look, we're going to be talking about Tottenham. Someone else who's been loosely linked with that job, actually, was Poch, but we'll touch on that. Want to talk now to Paul Miller, former Spurs defender. Of course, Spurs, very good victory last night. A couple of goals for Son, a goal for Lo Celso and Eriksen too. Morning, Paul.
Morning.
They look very good last night. I know they've had a little bit of criticism on their league form, but certainly the last couple of games against Red Star Belgrade, they have looked excellent.
Yeah, good timing actually, because you know, we've been poor. I mean, I think there's no getting away from it most of the season, and you know, just a range of circumstances with, you know, players out of contracts and the players we've bought not being fit and all the rest of it. But I mean, last night it looked great, yeah. And I mean, certainly the 2 of the players we bought were outstanding last night, and a great result.
Yeah, well, look, absolutely, and. It does look like the tide is maybe turning a little bit there. Son, of course, getting himself on the score sheet twice after going through the ringer a little bit with that tackle on Andre Gomez. It's good to see him back at it.
Yeah, I mean, Sonny's a great chap. I mean, he, you know, his heart is on his sleeve. He's a wonderful player, wonderful character person, a proper superstar, by the way. You know, the Messi of Asia.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
He would have been seriously hurt on Sunday by the circumstances, and you know, with the referee completely losing it as well. And you know, I mean, throughout the game, you know, no one attaching any blame at all to Son, and getting sent off because the guy, you know, unfortunately fell over and broke his ankle. I mean, it wasn't, you know, I suppose it leading up to it was Son's fault, but it wasn't his fault, and then there was no intent ever. And I was pleased that he was overturned, and I'm sure he was as well. But yeah, that was doing the world of good last night, and 2 good finishes. And you know, and he played well, and I was pleased also last night. It was a good atmosphere. That, you know, there was a talk of the racist thing beforehand, which never occurred, which is fantastic, and I think it was good all round actually.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you reckon to Dele Alli? He's been a little bit absent, hasn't he? And he seems like he's back at it. It looks from an outside perspective like maybe that hunger that propelled him there initially is slightly waned a little bit. What do you reckon?
Well, it's never easy for young players, especially someone like Dele has played, you know, over 350 games, whatever. No one at his age has ever played that many games for years, for donkey's years, and you know, been so outstanding. But you know, he had the Euros, the World Cup, and you know, he hardly had a rest. He had injuries at the start of this season, you know, carrying on from last year. I think it's taking the time to get fit. But I think generally the last 4 or 5 games, he's coming back into it. He's getting stronger again. He's getting in the box where he's most dangerous, making goals, scoring goals. And I've no doubt he will come back. But obviously, again, Delhi's background is well publicised, and how he grew up, and proper hungry, without doubt. And when you get a lot of money, I suppose it's not easy to change. But I mean, I think he's going to be fine. I think he's going to be okay. I think the criticism would have hurt, but he's going to go and answer that in the right way. He's a great trainer. No one does more running on the pitch than him, and he's there for the cause. And I just think he'll play his way out of it and he'll be fine. But it hasn't helped also that the players around him have been poor. The team's generally been poor this season with the results and things, and all sorts of silly goals and silly performances. But I think he'll be fine. I think he'll come back and he'll be even stronger.
Just want to touch on one other player as well, Lo Celso last night. I know he's had a bit of a difficult time so far with Spurs, obviously a bit of a hip injury, but he looked good last night. He had more touches, I believe, than anybody else on the pitch, more tackles. His best performance so far.
Well, yeah, I mean, he only had an hour of football from the start of the season. Everyone kept saying, what's he like? And no one said, we don't know, we haven't seen him. And, I mean, last night, you're right, he dominated it in midfield. He's got a lovely left foot. He took a good goal, a good touch and finish, and he kept possession for us well and opened things up. And I mean, he looks now a good player. I mean, I don't think anyone's had an opinion on him, since we bought him, because he's saying now in total an hour's football. How can you judge anyone on 5 minutes and 3 minutes at a time? So he has had an injury. It's funny, Sessegnon never got injured at Fulham, and he's hardly been fit. He's only just started to come on. Everyone saying, what's he like? I said, we don't know, do we? We only know where he was at Fulham. But listen, these are two young players, and great young players for us for the future. And that's what we need to buy more. We need to keep getting keep looking to rise up and get more players in there. We've got the income and the stadium and everything else. We could do that, and they're certainly two exciting players. But Lo Celso last night done himself a lot of good.
Great stuff. Paul, appreciate you joining us.
You're welcome. Cheers. Thanks.
That's Paul Miller, former Spurs defender there, giving us his thoughts on Spurs last night. Of course, Spurs playing Sheffield United the week. Big game this, by the way, at the weekend, you feel, for Spurs. That, again, going into the international break, a win against them will likely see them leapfrog Sheffield United. Sheffield United currently in 6th. So it's one of them, despite it being a poor start to the season, and it has, Tottenham's record, 1-3, drawn 4, lost 4. That's not a Tottenham record. If they can go into this international break beating Sheffield United, they may well find themselves certainly in the top 8, you would think. So, again, it's not quite so bad.
No, it's not. It's not. And this is, I think we are forgetting how early into a season we are and how reactive things can be. Realistically, if Spurs go on just win 5 games in a row, I mean, Manchester United beat Norwich and it looked like we'd just returned to the glory days. I was getting ready to polish off the old sign of the treble-winning campaign. Here we go, fantastic. Come on, boys, make way in that trophy cabinet because they're all going to be and we lost to Bournemouth. There it is. Just a little story before we go to a break, quickly. Reece James's dad missed his son's record-breaking moment for Chelsea because he was busy coaching Hamworth Villa's under-18s to a famous FA Youth Cup win over Gillingham after Reece James became Chelsea's youngest ever Champions League goal scorer.
Kind of a nice story, but a little bit upsetting at the same time. Do stay with us. 3 minutes to 8.
This is Love Sport.
Are you paying way too much for your energy bills? A spokesman said could help you save big money. With electricity costs continuing to rise, you could save hundreds of pounds by shopping around. Just go to aspokesmansaid.com and look for the very best value energy deals on the market. Don't waste your hard-earned cash. You could be on a much cheaper deal. Go to aspokesmansaid.com.
Fighting for you, saving you money. If you fall asleep at the wheel, you'll put your life in danger, and the lives of others as well. Before you feel tired, pull off the road into a services or other safe area. Drink some strong coffee, and take a quick nap while the caffeine kicks in.
If you're having a nap, you've left your lights on, sir.
Right, cheers.
Think. Don't drive tired.
Exercise. It doesn't have to mean Lycra or a fancy gym membership. All you need is 10 minutes and you. Because a regular 10-minute brisk walk is a great way to get more active. Whether that's walking to the shops or getting off the bus to stop early. Picking up the pace and getting your heart pumping can make a real difference to your health. So, to see how much brisk walking you're doing and how you can fit more into your day, download the free Active 10 app, because there's only one you.
I love my brother. We do fun things like playing together. I like having hugs with Freddie. Freddie gives the best hugs. Freddie used to be very poorly, and the doctor said he might need a new liver. Then one day, a very nice person gave their liver to Freddie. It was amazing. We were so happy. Now he's around to give me more hugs than ever.
Tell your family you want to save lives. To find out more, visit organdonation.nhs.uk.
Lost Sport Breakfast, me, Richard Lee, Patrick Christys. Do you want to know what's coming up in the next hour, Patrick?
I'd love to, Rich.
We've got Chris Williamson, boxing journalist, because, of course, Nicola Adams has retired over a torn pupil. We're going to be speaking to Andrew Dowd as well, Arsenal writer for paininthearsenal.com. We're also speaking to Paul
Feels
Dennett.
Like it shouldn't be legal this time in the morning, doesn't
I
it?
know, but it is. Paul Dennett, Australian cricket writer as well. We'll be speaking to him. Of course, Australia taking on Pakistan in the T20. Australia lead 1-0. We'll also be talking more rugby. This Saracen story is big news, and it continues today. And no doubt we'll touch on the Champions League endeavours of our English clubs last night.
Yeah, message in, by the way, 0208 7020 558. Should Saracens be stripped of their last 2 titles?
There you go. Let us know. 8 o'clock.
On digital radio, online, mobile and smart speaker.
This is Love Sport News.
From the Sky News Centre at 8, the Prime Minister's heading to North East England, Northern Ireland as well as Scotland, where he's fighting to hang on to seats the Conservatives won there in 2017 at the Tories' general election launch in Birmingham last night. Boris Johnson said the UK is embarking on the most important election in a generation. But Nigel Farage thinks his Brexit party is a real threat to the Prime Minister's chances.
If I've got 5 weeks to go around the country to say, look, he's trying to sell you a second-hand car, the bonnet looks very shiny. But once you lift up the lid and have a look at the engine, it doesn't really represent value for money. If I've got 5 weeks at that around the country, I can be as big as Nightmare. Labour's Deputy Leader Tom Watson, meanwhile, insists his decision to quit his role and not stand at the general election is personal, not political. A court in New Zealand seen CCTV of British backpacker Grace Millane hours before her death. It shows her in a lift and drinking in bars with the man accused of her murder. A study begins today testing cannabis on 20,000 patients with conditions such as chronic pain and epilepsy, but only a handful of NHS prescriptions have been issued because doctors are unsure about the benefits. Sainsbury's has taken a £203 million hit to its balance sheet. It follows a write-down of its property portfolio after announcing plans to relocate, close and open stores. In sports, Tottenham boss Maurizio Pochettino hopes last night's victory will kick-start his side's season. They won 4-0 at Red Star Belgrade in the Champions League. Pochettino was delighted with the performance.
I think it was a great result away from home. I think we needed to have a game like this. I think to recover our best feelings, our trust and build our confidence. Important game for us, 3 points. Happy. The performance of the team was very good.
Elsewhere, Manchester City drew 1-1 with Atalanta in Italy. The Europa League, Arsenal conceded in stoppage time against Vittoria, drawing 1-1. That's the latest. I'm Kevin Gover.
Love Sport.
There's nothing like coming back to a warm home after a long day at work. Especially when you've been stuck in rush hour for what seems like an eternity. Luckily, with Hive Active Heating, rated 5-star on Trustpilot, you can turn your heating on from wherever you are. And now with our new Hive radiator valves, you can even control your heating room by room. Search Hive Heating to buy now. Hive services require broadband and Wi-Fi. Terms apply.
Love Sport Radio. On digital radio, online, mobile and smart speaker. This is Love Sport Breakfast with Richard Lee and Patrick Christys.
Love Sport Breakfast, Love Sport Radio. Me, Richard Lee, Patrick Christys. Let's touch on the headlines. A night of red cards and redemption in the Champions League as Bravo was sent off in Italy and Sun Stars in Belgrade. Kyle Walker ended up in goal as City drew 1-1 away at Atalanta. Tottenham pushed 4 points clear of third place in Group C with a 4-0 away win against Red Star Belgrade. Arsenal's 100% win record in the Europa League is over. They drew 1-1 away to Vittoria. Emery remained stoic when asked about the possibility of being replaced by Jose Mourinho. Numerous Premiership chairmen want Saracens stripped of their 2018 and 2019 titles, a move which would see them handed a runners-up medal to Exeter. We'll also be talking Nicola Adams shortly. She has retired after a torn pupil injury. I am here joined by the one, the only, Mr. Patrick Christys. We're here for another couple of hours.
Yes, we are, indeed. You lucky, lucky people.
You lucky people.
We've got a lot to get stuck into. 1-1, Arsenal, 4-0. Spurs, of course. City, 1-1 as well. It was a really kind of, at times, farcical foray into the Champions League last night, wasn't it?
Well, Kyle Walker was in goal. We're going to hear from Kyle Walker very, very shortly. So he did go in goal. Of course, Claudio Bravo sent off with about 10 minutes to go. So it was an interesting situation, really. Of course, Ederson being injured at half-time, which is a big worry for them going into the game at the weekend. Claudio Bravo coming on, and to be honest, he didn't look like he was ready. Not just the sending off, but it wasn't a particularly convincing display. The paper's going in quite hard on Claudio Bravo. Kyle Walker then stepped in, looked pretty assured.
Yeah, Manchester City on their website, as we speak, have changed Kyle Walker from a defender to a goalkeeper.
Yeah, well, Kyle Walker was asked if he wanted to go in goal or was made to by Pep.
I think it was a little bit of both. I try and sometimes banter the keepers in training, telling them to catch it and stuff, but as I found tonight, sometimes you do have to take 2 touches.
You made one very important save.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's all jokes aside, we came here to get, a point or a victory. We know it was going to be difficult because they play man to man. They're a good team and they're in the Champions League for a reason. So to come away from here with, how we ended the game with a draw is a good point, and we'll take that on now.
It was a simple scoop save, Kyle. You're not a hero. It was a simple technique. Why did it take you 2 touches? Just hold it with 1 touch.
Catch it, Kyle.
Catch it, Kyle.
It's annoying, isn't it, Kyle?
I hate it when outfield players go in goal and they get all this, oh, you made a great save. No, you didn't. That was basic, textbook. And you made a bit of a mess of it, actually, Kyle.
Would the same apply if there was a really terrible injury or like neurovirus went around the City bench, right? And Ederson had to start playing in right back. Do you reckon he'd get the same thing? Like, oh my gosh, the ball's touched his foot and he kicked it straight down the line and it went to one of his own players. Oh!
That's what I mean. Oh, you challenged for a header, didn't you? Well done. Well, no, that's kind of what you do.
Yeah.
And, anyone could do. So, no, look, he went in, credit to him, kept a clean sheet, well done. But
he made more saves than the other 2 goalkeepers combined in that game.
Okay, fine. Look, are you trying to wind me up now?
No, I'm just saying that's a fact.
Look, we spend years on our craft to be excellent at being goalkeepers. We already get enough abuse from those outfielders. And all of a sudden, one of them steps in goal and he then, all chirpy. I bet Ederson will be really annoyed with him this morning, being all chirpy. I'll give the goalkeepers a bit of stick from time to time. I bet you do, Kyle. I bet you do. And I bet you're delighted this morning that you kept a clean sheet.
Yeah.
He's gone down in my estimation.
Well, it's something to tell his grandkids, isn't it?
It is indeed. We're going to be talking shortly to Chris Williamson, boxing, of course. Nicola Adams retired over a torn pupil. Fantastic, Chris. We're going to be speaking to him shortly. Just on City, so I want to talk more so about the weekend's fixture. And if Ederson is injured, on a serious note, in fact, well done, Kyle Walker. I just want to make that clear. To step in goal is not easy. He didn't look like a goalkeeper. Always makes me laugh when an outfield player goes in goal.
It's ridiculous, isn't it?
They couldn't look less like a goalkeeper.
It's like me in a dress.
I mean, well...
It is, seriously. It looks like watching an outfield player, right, put on goalkeeper gloves and the kit, which this makes no sense, by the way, because it is just items of clothing and gloves, right? It looks like when I've got a frock on.
Yeah.
It just looks, different.
Have you got pictures of you with her?
They're online.
Right, fantastic. Well, we'll check those out. We'll be putting them up on our Twitter, no doubt. City going into the weekend. If they don't have Ederson, if Bravo... Now, it wasn't a good night for him last night. I'm sure he'll get his head right. I'm sure he'll be in a good place for the game against Liverpool. But having Claudio Bravo in goal instead of Ederson, how much of an impact will that have from your perspective?
Massive. I think that's it. I think when Ederson left the pitch, you could just see City's title defence just walk off with him. The whole point of getting him in, and the whole point one of the main reasons anyway, why they have been so successful recently has been because of Ederson. There's no 2 ways about that. Comedy Claudio has done his best to let the ball through his legs more often than I've ever personally seen. I mean, at one point, wasn't there a time when he'd faced 5 shots and all of them had gone in? That was a ridiculous figure about him. Ederson is such an important player for them that I don't see how... I honestly think, I've said it earlier on, I think Liverpool will score 4 at the weekend.
We'll see if Classy Claudio can do the job.
Mate.
Huh?
Come off it,
If you're going to call him Comedy Claudio.
Calamity Claudio.
No, I haven't got another word beginning with C that's positive. Yeah, I'll try and think of one. We're going to talk some boxing. That just shows my lack of vocabulary. Classic
Well,
footballer.
we've exhausted all of the words beginning with C. So,
well, another word beginning with C. Chris Williamson, boxing journalist, is on the line. Morning, Chris.
Good morning, how are you?
Good morning. Yeah, good, thanks. Hope you're well. Lots to discuss. First and foremost, Nicola Adams, big news all over Sky Sports News yesterday. She has retired, 37 years old, over a torn pupil.
She has. Obviously, she was a bit of a trailblazer for women's boxing. First woman to ever win an Olympic gold medalist. Once that was installed in the 2012 Olympics, and then the first ever Brit to second ever since first in something like 60, 70 years to retain an Olympic gold medal when she won in Rio again. She's had a fairly short pro career, so she only managed six professional fights. Managed to win one of the world titles, the WBO title, in that time. Although it was kind of by default when the champion became injured. So she's got this kind of strange record of being one of the few world champions never to have technically won a genuine world title fight. But yeah, their main sort of legacy really is those Olympic gold medals and that amateur career, which was absolutely outstanding.
yeah, well, look, absolutely. She's 37 years old. She actually only turned pro in April 2017, a record of 5 wins and 1 draw, a WBO flyweight world champion, of course. And I think there's a bit more to her than just a boxing. I mean, there's a good title there in the Times, actually. She was a pioneer who hid her fierce will to win gold behind a megawatt smile. And I think that she's done quite a lot, I dare say, for women's boxing. That's more... she leaves behind a tremendous legacy, doesn't she?
Yeah, she does. It's that. It's also the LGBT community as well. She's the first, as far as I know it, she was the first openly gay boxer or bisexual boxer. So she's done a lot for that as well. She does a lot for charity. She has done a lot for charity. As you say, she really is a household name. Before her professional bouts, at least, she was on BBC Breakfast News, and it's extremely rare for professional boxing to get that kind of exposure. So
you see, there's a stat here. It's just called the Adams effect, actually, and it's women participating in boxing at least once a week, right? And in August 2012, there was about 25,000, and then in August 2016, so Adams' second gold medal, it was 50,000. I mean, that really is quite something. And obviously you can't put it all down to her, but I think it's fair to say that she deserves a lot of credit for it. Look, do you think that this is the right time for her to get out, though, before maybe she does some kind of serious, irreparable damage?
I think it is. I mean, I was at her last fight. It was at the beautiful sort of Royal Albert Hall, which is a fantastic venue for boxing. I really hope there's a lot more of it. That was only a couple of months ago. And she struggled against Mexican Maria Salinas and picked up this eye injury apparently. So, I think she's been boxing a long time. I mean, as I say, she's 37. She's been boxing a long time now. She's done everything she wanted to do and more. So, given she's financially successful, she's pretty set for life really. So, it probably is a good time to bow out.
A quick word on Wilder and Fury. WBC sanctions a direct rematch between heavyweight champion Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury.
Yeah, they have, which is controversial. Again, obviously, boxing and controversy comes hand in hand. But so Dillian Whyte, British fighter, won an interim belt a few months ago, and then was suspended by the WBC at least. That status was suspended. Once there was a failed drugs test. So as you say, Wilder at the WBC convention, Fury at the WBC convention has been installed as the mandatory for probably early next year. The idea, I believe, is that they'll fight again in February, and that's a terrific fight. Fury's obviously keeping himself in the public eye with his WWE. Exploits, which he's an absolute marketing genius, isn't he? But and Wilder has a pretty tough test in a couple of weeks against Luis Ortiz, who he struggled to beat in a fantastic fight early last year. So if Wilder gets through that, which he should do, then we've got a huge rematch to look forward to there in Wilder and Fury next year.
I'm a little bit worried about Fury, whether or not the kind of bubble has burst a little bit, whether his momentum has just stopped rolling, because he came back with such a bang and he had all that wave of positivity behind him. He just turned his life around. Well, we're a couple of years on from that, a year on from that, and I'm just worried that maybe that momentum started to wane a bit. And do we see the same Tyson Fury in a ring with Deontay Wilder again, do you think?
I disagree. I think we'll see a better Tyson Fury. Okay. So when they fought last December, he'd only had a couple of comeback fights. He was still pretty fleshy. He came back very, very quickly into that title fight. Incredible, really. He's now had a couple more. He did. You're right. He did struggle against Otto Wallin a couple of months ago, and he was badly cut. First really bad cut he's had in his career. But he's got that ring fitness back. I really don't think this WWE stuff will do him any harm at all. It'll be great for his fitness and keeps him in the public eye. So I really do think we'll see a better Fury next time. The trouble is we might see a better Wilder as well, because he's improved again since the Fury fight. He knocked out his last challenger. He was a mandatory challenger, Dominic Breazeale, in one round, and he looks excellent. So I think the rematch might be even better this time around, actually.
Okay. And just quickly, you probably don't want to give this too much airtime, I would guess, but KSI versus Logan Paul. Your thoughts on this fight?
Yeah, I mean, most of the boxing hardcore, if you like, don't like the way that these two. I mean, I'm middle-aged, so I don't know much about these two outside of the fact that they had an amateur fight last year that did really well on this YouTube pay-per-view. But it doesn't really sit right with me that they've got this massive platform. So it's live on a network called DAZN in the US. They've been paid an absolute fortune. The fight's out in LA, and the fight is actually on Sky Sports box office as well. So it's a pay-per-view fight over here for I think it's a bit cheaper. So it's about a tenner, where it's usually about 20 quid for the pay-per-views. But six round debutants. And what's strange about this, Billy Joe Saunders, who's the current WBO super middleweight champion, is actually on their undercard, which
can I just ask, strange, right? So I saw, I physically couldn't watch all of the first fight, but I saw the result, right? And they lift up the arms, right, of the boxers at the same time. Now Logan Paul, right, who presumably by that stage doesn't know or shouldn't know the result, looks immediately shocked. Now all he will have felt is his own arm go up, okay? And this is what I don't understand, which is how would he have known that this was a draw? Bear in mind this is worth so much money. Look, I'm just going to ask you a straight up question. Like, is this just fixed? Is this just a joke? Like, is it just rigged?
No, it's not. It's not rigged. And I saw that as well, and that was a strange reaction. But I genuinely think he's a big old lump, Logan Paul, isn't he? And I think he was just absolutely exhausted, isn't he, anything after that 6 rounds? Because the first round or so, it looked as if Logan Paul was going to absolutely demolish him. As you say, I haven't watched the whole fight as well. I couldn't bear it, but I've watched bits of it. And Logan Paul dominated the first bits that I saw. Much bigger guy. He looks like he's got a half decent jab, really, given the level that they're at. And then the smaller guy, KSI, seemed to come back into it and land quite a few right hands and almost seemed to knock Paul out in the final round. So now, it's not rigged. Boxing gets a bad enough reputation without Sean saying it's rigged. It's not rigged. And this one's a properly sanctioned bout. So this one's a professional fight. So they won't be wearing head guards. Yeah. No, it's above board. It might be ridiculous, but it's not rigged.
Good stuff. Chris, appreciate you joining us. That's Chris Williamson there, boxing journalist, giving us his thoughts on Nicola Adams, who has, of course, retired. And, KSI versus Logan Paul.
It's really interesting, this, because I'm so conflicted about that, because I think I'd love to see someone making loads of money. I do love to see that. I think that's magnificent, and I want to see people get on and, it's not much better way of getting on than splitting a purse of 190 million in Los Angeles, is it, for 6 rounds? I mean, it's incredible, but it is just an absolute farce, isn't it?
It is.
It makes me feel a little bit
So
sick.
if you're a child now, do you then aspire to be a top boxer or someone who's just got a big following and then has a boxing match and makes a lot more money than your average boxer?
I'll tell you what, mate. It's on the BBC website at the minute, actually. I read this on the way into work this morning. There's a 10-year-old lad, primary school people, who was at school and they were being asked by, what do you want to be when you grow up? And he said a drug dealer. Seriously. So this is the thing that people are now, it's a comment on how bad our crime thing is in schools now and in this country, where actually kids are growing up and they're like, I want to be that. Wow. I want to be that because we're seeing what it is. So I suppose it's even better if they go, I want to be a YouTube star who does some dubious pranks, including tasering rats, and then fights another man for 190 million.
There you go. 19 minutes past 8.
This is Love Sport.
Don't get caught out in the great energy price hike as large firms look to charge you more. If you want to save money on your energy bills, it's not too late to see what's on the market. With rising gas and electricity bills, don't get caught out wasting your money on expensive tariffs. A Spokesman Said will show you the very best value deals available. Check out aspokesmansaid.com and you could be using your savings to put towards a well-earned holiday.
With aspokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money.
If you're driving on a motorway and you see a red X sign overhead, you need to change lanes safely. Driving in a red X lane is an offence. Red X's are there for a reason, to protect you and others from danger. The lane may be blocked by a broken down vehicle, or road workers, or the lane may be needed for the emergency services. So if you see a red X, change lanes safely. Highways England, connecting the country.
My mum and dad say that I don't need lots of sugar. I'm sweet enough already. So we used the Change for Life food scanner app to find out how much sugar is in our food and drink. It's surprising how much we found. So I put my detective hat on to find the healthier choices. Woohoo! Found one, Mum! You can be food smart too. Download the free Change for Life food scanner app today.
Driving too close to the car in front gives you less time to react. You may not realise that you're tailgating. Leave a 2-second gap between you and the vehicle in front. When it's wet, leave a 4-second gap. By staying back, you give yourself time to react. Stay safe. Stay back. Highways England, connecting the country.
Love Sport.
Love Sport Breakfast. Me, Richard Lee, Patrick Christys. Now, Arsenal lost their 100% record in the Europa League last night, but they are still unbeaten. We're going to speak to Andrew Dodd as well, Arsenal writer for pennythearsenal.com. Morning, Andrew.
Good morning.
Morning. I've seen the highlights, to be honest. Didn't watch the game live. Saw the highlights. From what I saw, didn't look massively impressive. Nice for Mustafi to get himself a goal. Not nice, of course, to concede a last-minute equaliser. What did you make of the performance?
It wasn't the best. They had 7 shots, 4 of which came from set pieces. I think that kind of tells you everything you need to know, including the goal. This is a team that had lost every Europa League game before Thursday night, and they were kind of in control for the first 50, 60 minutes or so, and then Arsenal did wrestle back a bit of control in the final 20 minutes, 25 minutes, but they didn't really create much. It was slow. There was a complete lack of dynamism and direction, and really they were kind of a bit lucky to get a draw in the end.
Okay, so what do you put this down to? Is it that maybe there's a lack of quality on the pitch? Is there a lack of organisation? Who do you pin the blame on here?
I think it is, with every passing game, it's looking more and more likely that the head coach is the man to blame rather than the players. Really, they look like a confused team that don't quite understand what they're meant to be doing. Emery switched to a back three for the first time in the season last night, and it didn't really work. Not necessarily because the system was wrong, but just because the players didn't know what they were doing. They looked confused. They couldn't execute the positions properly. Dani Ceballos was dropping too deep, which left Joe Willock completely alone in centre midfield, and really it just looked very unbalanced, and it lacked cohesion and connection, which I think over a period of 2 or 3 months, you have to start maybe pinning the blame on the manager rather than the players.
Yeah, well, this is the question. Obviously, Emery, he's had a really tough couple of weeks, certainly in terms of results. The whole Granit Xhaka situation as well. I'd argue he didn't handle that brilliantly. Is it one where you can see it turning round? Is there potential for it to turn round? And if there's not, then would the international break be the perfect time to cut your losses and look for someone new?
I definitely think the Leicester game this weekend will be a massive swinging point for Unai Emery. If he gets a win somehow, I think it could maybe inject some momentum into his reign, because it really is slipping out of control right now. If they lose, if Arsenal lose, they'll drop 9 points down Leicester, who are playing brilliant football at the moment.
Indeed. I tell you what, Andrew, it's not the best of lines, so we're gonna leave it there. But thank you for coming on. And
okay.
Andrew Dodd as well. Arsenal writer for Pain in the Arsenal just started losing the line a bit there. But of course, they have got Leicester at the weekend. Leicester are absolutely flying. You look at that game and you just feel that if Leicester were to win and win convincingly, is there a way back for Unai Emery?
Look, it's turned, hasn't it, against Unai Emery? It really has. I witnessed it firsthand, this infamous Arsenal fans WhatsApp group that I've managed to wander into. That's turned completely. And I do get the impression now that there are a lot of people who are, frankly, sick and tired of him. Just in terms of the Arsenal captaincy, though, mate, Saeed Kolasinac.
Yeah, what makes you say that? I've got a feeling I know.
He's on the front page of The Sun today. This is after the two of the people who attacked Mesut Ozil's wife, and Saeed Kolasinac in North London, in Golders Green, tried to steal their £200,000 watches, and it's believed Mesut Ozil's £160,000 Mercedes box. Actually, that's what that car looks like, isn't it? It's basically a box with wheels, but it's got a Merc badge on it, so it must be worth a few grand. Anyway, they were convicted of armed robbery, these people, and more footage was shown yesterday to the court of what happened before the quite famous footage of Kolasinac kind of hopping around the place like, come on if you think you're hard enough. So about half a mile-ish up the road, there was an initial meeting between these people.
Yeah.
And they've whacked out, and at one point, they've brandished a knife, and they've basically held it to Kolasinac's throat, right? He has not even blinked. This guy's got a crash helmet on, he's got a knife to his throat, and he's tried to knock him out.
Wow.
Legend. Give him the armband, yeah? Let him do what he wants. That's a leader.
That is a leader. Ozil's response was a little bit different. Of course, Ozil, he was a long way away from home here, and he went missing.
Yes, Ozil
went missing.
Ozil ran into the car, told Kolasinac to jump in, which he did then do, but then they drove down the road, and that's the bit that we now know of as the main footage that emerged of this and things, where Kolasinac basically just went, no, I'm not having this, got back out of the car, tried to fight them off again, and Ozil ran off to a Turkish restaurant.
Yeah. Which was the right decision, by the way.
He's just there with a load of flatbreads and Dara Masalata, and he's just, there we are.
Nice. Come on, Saeed. There you go. You got it. You got this one, mate.
What a lovely gyros this is. Oh, fantastic. You got any more of that minty one, the minty yoghurt thing? Just want a bit of that. Oh, Saeed, mate, you're all right, covered in blood. So yeah, but that's an Arsenal captain.
Yeah.
You don't know all this talk about, who do we have? We don't really know who we go for. There's no one there. Hector Bellerin. Hector Bellerin's a vegan. He wouldn't be seen dead anywhere near this thing. He'd have given them the watch straight away. He'd have given them the watch. He'd have given them the car. He'd probably given them most of his wages. Saeed Kolasinac, unashamed meat eater, right? Fights off some armed masked gang members, right? Give him the armband.
I find it so strange that you link the two. Why does meat eater mean it? And by the way, is this actually something to follow? I do need to say that. By the way, it's incredible what he did, but is this a lesson for people that are in that situation?
In what sense?
If you are in that situation that Saeed Kolasinac, which incredible what he did, literally a superhero.
Yeah.
This is the kind of thing that you see in a Marvel film.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, fantastic. But would you then suggest if you were in this situation, are you now following in Kolasinac's footsteps?
Mate, I will. When you're in a situation like this, which thankfully I have not been in since I was pushed down a manhole in Bulgaria and robbed for everything that was worth by a rather large, hairy man. Since that situation, I don't dish out advice to anyone because you don't know until you're in it. So, like, if you are you a Kolasinac or are you an Ozil? Don't know.
Can I tell you my story?
Go on.
I got mugged.
When
I was 14 years old.
Right.
No, actually, I was a bit younger, maybe 12, 13. So I went and bought a computer game, Brian Lara's Cricket.
Good game.
Great game.
Great
Really good game. Anyway, I was stood with my brother and a group of youths, about 6 of them, came up and they were being a little bit horrible, and I was holding my game, and it was just me and my brother waiting for my dad, and they snatched the game and ran off with it. I sprinted after them. I then lost them. They were quite quick, and obviously I was a goalkeeper. I didn't have to run very often, so I wasn't the quickest as a child. I then decided, though, in my mind, and I thought, oh, where are they going to go? And I had the receipt in the bag, so I then chased them back to Game, where, of course, I bought the game from. You know, Game, the shop Game?
Yeah.
So I chased them back. I went there, and they were there at the front trying to get the money back for the game, trying to return it, because I just bought it. So I went in there screaming and shouting, he stole my game, he stole my game.
Yeah.
So anyway, they then got a little bit scared, came back, gave me the game back, but they were then following me, so we're going to take it back off, you're going to take it back off you. Got outside, so I appreciate it's a long story, but it does have a happy ending.
Yeah.
Got back outside, and I saw my dad, so I then waited. How tall's your dad again? 6'5".
Nice.
Yeah. So then, as soon as I got really close, Dad, he stole my game. He stole my game. He stole my game. We then both chased this kid, got the kid, took him to the police station.
No!
Yeah.
Oh, good stuff. I like that.
There you go. And
he's not been able to get a job ever since because he's got a criminal record now, and he can't go to America, and he can't go to Australia, and actually he's on the dole. But well done, though.
Ruined his life.
Standing up for what you believe in.
Ruined his life. Karma.
Yeah.
Karma.
Is that what it's called? Surname Sutra.
29 minutes past 8.
This is Love Sport.
Listen to Love Sport Radio on your smartphone today. Simply download the free Love Sport app from the App Store or Google Play. Tap the play button and you'll be able to listen to your favourite station. Anytime, anywhere. Love Sport Radio, the station giving fans a voice. Are you paying way too much for your energy bills? A Spokesman Said is a price comparison site that shows you the very best energy deals on the market. Don't pay the price for rising energy costs.
With a spokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money.
Don't get caught out by rising energy bills this year. Leading price comparison site A Spokesman Said can help you save money in just minutes. Plus, sign up to A Spokesman Said to get the latest super cheap collective energy deals. These offers are such great value, they aren't even available direct from the energy companies. Savvy customers have saved over £10 million from collective energy deals. Go to aspokesmansaid.com and you could be saving big money on your bills.
With a spokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money.
How are you? How are you really? Modern life can be busy, and sometimes it's easier to look after others before looking after yourself. But there's only one you. And making small changes to your lifestyle now could improve your chances of staying healthier longer. So take the first step to a healthier you with our free How Are You quiz. See how you score and get personalised tips and support. From how to eat a little healthier to turning a 10-minute walk into exercise. Just search 1U.
You probably think you're pretty good at multitasking behind the wheel. I mean, you have to multitask to drive. So what's wrong with checking your phone? The thing is, your brain simply for quick reply affects your concentration and makes you less able to react to hazards. If you use a mobile phone while driving, you're 4 times more likely to crash. Think. Put your phone away.
Before you set off on a long journey, remember to check your vehicle. Are your tyres correctly inflated? And are the treads deep enough? Have you got enough fuel? Is your oil level right? Checking your vehicle doesn't take long, but can prevent a breakdown or accident, and save you money. So, before you set off on a long journey, check your tyres, fuel, and oil. Highways England, connecting the country.
This is Love Sport.
Love Sport Breakfast, me, Richard Lee, Patrick Christys. We've touched on a lot of sport. We will touch on more sport, but we do like to touch on the front pages as well. And who better to do so than producer Mark? But we've got Patrick here, and he's going to do it instead.
Yes, yet again, I just want to make it very clear to people that I've been banned from talking about politics. This is not court ordered. Well, in a way it is. It's because we've got an election on, and I'm not legally allowed to say anything about any of it, just in case I somehow might sway the way that you vote. So I have to ignore now the first, let's just see, 15 pages of the newspaper. Excellent, good stuff. So let's talk about other stuff. There's a few bits and bobs doing the rounds at the moment. One of them that is actually serious, is something that's on the BBC today, which is about this 10-year-old lad who was at primary school, and they were going around and they were doing the classic what do you want to be when you grow up? You know, and someone's like, ice hockey player, I want to be an astronaut, I want to be whatever. And this lad genuinely goes, I want to be a drug dealer. Now, this is, it's not funny, it's serious, right? Because this is where we are at the minute. Kids younger and younger and younger are actually being used by drug gangs in this country as part of what is called county lines and cuckooing as well as another thing. So they get these kids to transport drugs around the country, and basically because they're young, even if they get caught, there's very little that can be done about it. But what this shows, I think, is that it's gone now from being, you know, just a typical kind of gang-related thing to something that's actually really permeated into every element of society. And I think for the first time, we are seeing children, young children, who are looking at a situation and going, well, I could go to university and get, you know, a Desmond Tutu and David Beckham studies from Staffordshire University or somewhere like that. Or I could become a drug dealer at the age of 14 and potentially, well, obviously, you would probably end up dead or in prison. But the glitz and glamour of it is, you know, I might have a Porsche and I might have, you know, earning thousands of pounds a week and things. And that just, it terrified me. To be honest with you, it terrified me.
Well, does that link to, and look, that's ridiculous, by the way, and how he's come up with that answer, what he must have seen, watched, heard in order to make him think that. Look, there's so many parts to that. But then also, we're talking about this fight between Logan Paul and KSI. They're going to split a purse of 190 million.
Yeah.
These are two people that aren't boxers, that have never really trained until recently because of this fight that they've now got. But of course, they're going to be financially very, very well off. But goes back to your point of, right, what do you then aspire to be? If you're a 10-year-old now, the way in which the world's changed, do you go down the route of building up a load of debt by going to university and studying a craft, which actually, it might not lead to anything anyway? You know, how many people have got degrees that actually do nothing with it? Whereas the way in which the world's going, right or wrong, in my opinion, wrong, but right or wrong, you can then go down the route of being a reality star, not necessarily dedicating yourself to an influencer, not necessarily dedicating yourself to anything.
No.
I guess the counter argument would be you're dedicating yourself to becoming an expert at social media. I don't know.
Look, it's a really tough one, isn't it? Because you can't argue with the end result. It's that classic, South Africa didn't play nice rugby. Yeah, but they won the World Cup.
Yeah.
You know, it's, your job's an absolute joke. Yeah, but I'm a multi-millionaire. There's this Fortnite kid that we spoke a bit about yesterday who's, you know, got banned for cheating on the game. He's, 16, 17 years old? He's worth 6.2 million quid.
Yeah.
Like, who am I to tell him to get out of his bedroom anymore?
Yeah.
You know? Anyway, moving on from that. We think we found the missing link, Rich.
Go on.
Yes, that's right. The story of how man came to walk on two legs was rewritten yesterday when scientists revealed the fossilised remains of a tree dweller that existed nearly 12 million years ago. What it is, essentially a monkey, but it had straight legs, which basically meant it used to walk around.
Yeah.
And this is believed to be the missing link.
Right.
So we've gone around it for ages. I thought for a while it was Wayne Rooney.
Right.
But no, it is not. It is a tree dweller.
So many roads lead to Wayne Rooney. I'm aware of this.
Well, you're not allowed to drive on any of those roads, are you?
Right, okay.
According to researchers, the discovery provides a new picture of the missing link. Anatomically, it is unlike anything in the fossil record. I love this, right? Because now we've crossed that line where there's now so many people in the world, and there's quite a lot of money going about. I have none of it, but there's quite a lot of money going about, and there's a lot of these researchers and scientists. I think we're going to see a really rapid progression in science and in loads of things like this. And I just think it's brilliant. Like, what will we learn in a few years' time? It looks like we have found this missing link, and it seems pretty good. It's in Bavaria, by the way. 11 million years ago, they found this. Well, they found this thing recently, of course, but they reckon it was alive 11 million years ago in Bavaria.
Wow.
So the missing link might actually come from Germany.
Wow. Okay.
Wow.
That's big news.
That's
there you
quite
go.
big news, especially for the Germans. Of course, fantastic. A few other bits and bobs going about. Apparently, the rates of people going to A&E with firework-related injuries has shot through the roof.
Yeah.
And the Sun have gone for, as you can imagine, quite a tasteful headline.
Okay.
What do you reckon they've gone for, mate?
Oh, so let me think. If I put the two together, no, go on. I've got nothing.
You sure?
Yeah. Go on.
Absolutely certain. 100%.
Yeah.
Fork idiots.
Right. Okay.
Yes,
Yeah,
there we are.
I probably wouldn't have guessed that.
Yeah, 15 arrested, apparently. Bonfire night rampages across the country. So there is,
Arrested
of
with
course,
what?
that.
Because of the way in which they're setting them off? Or?
Yeah.
Right.
So you're not allowed to do it after certain times or in certain places. And they were, I must say, actually, I'm really pro firework. Absolutely love them. But dear me, they were going on again last night, and it did make me want to start shooting people.
Yeah. they do go on quite late. And so this year in particular, though, we had the front page of the paper a couple of days ago where someone was setting one off in a rather ridiculous way. How badly hurt did that person get, by the way?
He had a scalded bum.
Really?
Yes. Yeah, well, we've all been there, though, mate.
No, we haven't.
Yes, we have. I
No.
used to grow up on the Curry Mile in Manchester. I had it every single week. Every single week. Right, I want to have a go at the BBC now.
Go on.
War of the PC Worlds. BBC does a woke version, right, of War of the Worlds.
Okay.
So we know what War of the Worlds is, don't we? Aliens, come. Yeah, hilarity ensues. No, aliens come, take over the world. Yeah. But the BBC have done a new politically correct version of this.
Okay.
So the War of the Worlds now attacks religion, the British Empire, highlights climate change, and has a leading part for a female character barely mentioned in H.G. Wells' book. Now, this, it just annoys me, mate. It annoys me on a few reasons, right? Because I think the BBC have done a few bits and bobs that, frankly, have wound me up. So, here's a case in point. They did a cartoon documentary, can you call it that? Cartoon series, anyway, on the Roman Empire, right? And the Roman Empire in Britain. And as you were watching it, they had one of the things where, like, one of the characters in it, it's supposed to be based in fact, this is in their history section on their website. One of the main people in this was this powerful female figure that literally didn't exist, right? And you're looking at it and you're thinking, well, I get it. I get that, that it's nice. Well, it's right now that we have, certainly more of an equal dynamic between men and women. And there is a good argument to say that could be furthered. But you're messing with actual historical facts there. Yeah. You are. That didn't happen, and you're lying to us. So, but this winds me up again. The idea now that every single thing has to be so woke. It's all got to be, right, okay, well, we can't just have a book by H.G. Wells without some kind of commentary on climate change, whatever. Do you reckon at the end, Greta Thunberg just pops up and goes, "How dare you? You have stolen my future. You have stolen my dreams. Go back to school."
There you go, Patrick Christys, Britain.
Yeah, no, but on that, I'm not being funny. The idea, right, that you can just cast us out, I hate you old people, you've been so stupid. Yeah, we won a war, though, didn't we? Not some of the old people. We've done a few bits and bobs. Your parents have actually done very well for themselves. They're multi-millionaires, Greta, which is why you can take the day off school.
You make some good points.
Sorry.
But what do you guys think? 0208 70 20 558. Of course, you can get in touch on YouTube as well. You can also get in touch on the socials. Anything else going on in the front pages, or do you need a little bit of a breather?
That vein in my temple has just started
It's
again,
really
hasn't it?
throbbing quite heavily.
Wow, I don't know where that came from. I'm in quite a good mood.
Yeah.
It just really wound me up.
Yeah, indeed. Anything else, or do you want to go to the back pages once more?
Let's go to the back pages.
Yeah, indeed. Let's touch on Arsenal. Of course, we spoke to Andrew Dowd as well, Arsenal writer for Penny the Arsenal, a little while ago. He spoke a little bit about Unai Emery. Your thoughts on Unai Emery, because they have got this game against Leicester at the weekend. Of course, if they were to lose heavily, or if they were to lose at all, they're going to be in a pretty poor position going into the international break. Currently fifth. Realistically, one or two teams are going to go ahead of them. They'll probably find themselves 7th, 8th, maybe even 9th. Going into this international break for Arsenal, surely that isn't good enough. Yes, Man United and Spurs are also struggling as well, but they're all running different races and they're all in different positions for different reasons. From Arsenal's point of view, Unai Emery's had enough time now to start to make a much bigger imprint on this Arsenal team.
Yeah, Martin Keown was saying that he basically thinks they're at risk of losing any identity that they had under Arsene Wenger.
There was an interesting piece in the paper, actually, where it had the quotes from Unai Emery and they had the quotes from Martin Keown, which couldn't be further apart, with Unai Emery trying to gloss over last night's performance to an extent, saying that they were dangerous in attack, they were resolute in defence, which wasn't necessarily the case.
Yeah, he's done the North Korean newsreader, hasn't he? Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's done the North Korean newsreader a few times, where, you just sat there and it's like, well, what a game that was. I think we can all agree that was absolutely magnificent, really solid at the back, great going forward. Oh, it was really good, Ollie, mate, sorry, you didn't have a shot on target and you've lost 4-0 to Oxford. Like, oh, okay. Anyway, so I think he's lying there. Right, question.
Go on.
If Wenger is good enough to go to Bayern Munich, putting this out there, bigger club than Arsenal. Yeah, fair?
I know what you're going to say, and the answer is no.
Okay, why? Why not? If he's good enough to give it Wenger till end of season at Bayern Munich, Why not do it at Arsenal?
Okay. If I were to ask you, your ex-girlfriend, you guys broke up, would you get back with her?
I've done, mate. What? Whoa.
Wow.
No. Oh, no. Dump it. Get it out. Can't have her listening to that. Oh, I've ruined it all.
Okay, it kind of kills my point if that actually... But do you know what I mean? If it didn't work the first time, why is it going to work the second time?
No, I get that, but it's a stopgap. And if you are at risk of, as Martin Keown seems to say, losing that identity and that thing, maybe just a little bit of an injection of that identity, just back in a little bit towards the end of the season. What do you recommend?
Just he knows the club inside out. I know what you're saying. So he's been there. It's familiar. Yeah. He could just step in. It'll be a smooth transition. But then you've got Wenger leaving again, haven't you? And you've got the whole breakup again.
Well, hang on a second. It was all right for Andy Murray.
Yeah.
You did it, Andy! Well done! Oh, so we're never going to see you again. Andy Murray makes a shock return to tennis after never actually announcing his retirement.
And wins a tournament as well. Well, look, I feel if Wenger came back, what would it be like? Do you know what? I think the Arsenal fans would welcome him back initially, but then it would be the whole breakup again. And, okay, let's go back to this ex of yours. When you then broke up the second time, it's even worse.
Oh, no, I didn't break up with her a second time. We'll go into it off air. It's
probably best that we do that.
Yeah.
Or maybe they just put in like an ex-Arsenal legend in charge, like a Tony Adams.
Yeah, well, apparently Freddie Ljungberg is quite popular. Well, obviously he's popular, but he would be a popular choice apparently for it.
The problem is I look at a lot of the ex-Arsenal players, Tony Adams, who does seem a little bit mental at times. I think it's fair to say. He's a bit different. No, I want to say it in a nice way. Like some of the interviews I've seen with him, fantastic guy, fantastic career, but I don't know, is he the character? He obviously tried it and it didn't work out for him. I think it was Wycombe Wanderers and what have you. Thierry Henry made a bit of a pig's ear of it at Monaco.
No,
it's fair to say.
He's not any manager who wears gloves. It's not for me.
No, who else could we have?
Vieira.
I think just give it to Vieira. He'd be very good. I think give it to David Seaman.
Give it to David Seaman.
Yeah.
It's just David Seaman's literally never asked for it, mate. Has he?
No. I think
What's
just surprise
doing?
him.
Who is David Seaman?
Just surprise
Has
him.
anyone seen David Seaman?
Not for a little while. No, he's kind of gone off the radar a little bit. But
Is
I
he
think just
all right?
surprise.
Has he still got a ponytail?
I have no idea. I haven't seen him for a long time. He's gone completely off the radar.
Hang on a minute. All right, 0208 7020 558. Where the living heck is David Seaman?
We're going to be speaking to Paul Dennett, Australian cricket writer, next.
Love Sport Radio, the station giving fans a voice.
If you see somebody showing any of the signs of a stroke, you don't have to think about it. You just dial 999. Use the FAST test. F. Face. Has their face fallen on one side? Can they smile? A. Arms. Can they raise both arms and keep them there? S. Speech. Is their speech slurred? T. Time. Time to call 999 if you see any one of these signs. Act fast, make the call, dial 999.
Whoa! Look how much saturated fat is in these chocolate biscuits. It's surprising how much is in our food and drinks. For us kids, eating too much saturated fat can lead to harmful fat building up inside, which we can't see, increasing the risk of heart disease or stroke when we get older. So be food smart. Download the free Change for Life food scanner app and start making healthier choices today.
There are many things a mother can pass on to her baby. Her smile, her eye colour, and her immunity to whooping cough. Whooping cough is a very dangerous illness for young babies, and at the moment it's spreading fast. A simple vaccination during your pregnancy can help to protect your baby in their first weeks. Please speak to your GP, nurse, or healthcare professional and pass on your immunity.
Oh, it's okay. Let's face it, when your kids are ill, you'd do anything to help them feel better. But remember, antibiotics aren't always needed. You might not realise it, but taking antibiotics when you don't need them puts you and your family at risk of a longer and more severe illness. Help keep your family well. Always take your doctor's advice on antibiotics. Search NHS antibiotics. All better.
Love Sport.
Love Sport Breakfast, me, Richard Lee Patrick. Christys here with you until 10 a.m. Of course, Martin Bell is up after us. Fantastic Martin Bell, so do stay tuned for that. Right, we're going to talk a little bit of cricket. Haven't spoke cricket this morning, but who better to do so than Mr. Paul Dennett, Australian cricket writer. Paul, it's been a while.
Yeah, it has. How you going, boys?
Yeah, very well. Hope you're well too. So I want to talk, obviously, Australia, Pakistan in the T20. Australia lead 1-0 as it stands.
Yeah, it probably should have been 2-0. Sydney, my hometown, has been quite famous in recent years of having games rained off. Australia had a game at their mercy to win in the first one, but they got over the line in the second, and the third game's coming up tomorrow. Australia have also belted Sri Lanka in some T20s, and they look pretty good. Australia's been very poor in international T20 cricket. There's a World Cup in a year's time, and as an Aussie fan, it's nice to see them finally starting to take it seriously.
Yeah, well, look, absolutely. And what do you credit for that kind of turnaround in fortunes?
I think that for the first time they've put their very best side in. There's been some amazing instances in recent years where Australia has rested players wholesale because of Test series coming up, and we've had players who've made their debuts for Australia and then never played again while all the top players have been overseas. And they've realised, well, we're hosting the World Cup in a year out from now. We've got to start taking this seriously. So rather than resting players like Mitchell Starc and getting them to play red ball cricket in the lead up to our Test series, they said, actually, we need some continuity. So we've had our very best lineup playing, and at our very best, our T20 side is pretty good.
Yeah, just look, from an English perspective, I think one of the reasons, apart from Steve Smith and general Australian bowling brilliance, one of the reasons we lost the Ashes is because I think we'd invested too much in this country in the shorter formats of the game, and we struggled to deal with the longer format. Is there not a risk now, from an Australian perspective, that the same thing might happen to you?
There sure is. It's just so hard to juggle it. I suppose in our favour, we've got New Zealand and Pakistan coming out here this summer, and between them, I think that they've each won one Test match in the last 30-plus years. So not one series, one actual Test match. So we're probably taking them a little bit lightly, and we can probably afford to do so, quite frankly.
Yeah, well, look, absolutely. Anyway, just on the last game, Steve Smith has been commenting, saying, I thought the bowlers set it up early. It was probably a 170 wicket, I reckon, at least. They bowled beautifully. Then it was just about timing and the run. Unfortunately, I was able to do that. The Australian bowling attack, I think, shocked quite a lot of English cricket fans over the summer when they were here in the longer format. I don't think we appreciated exactly how good the Aussie bowlers are. Is it the same for the shorter format of the game? And if so, why has Australia been able to churn out such world-class bowling talent recently?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think that when we get our very best bowling lineup into our T20 side, we're very good, and it's basically the Test lineup. Yeah. Josh Hazlewood hasn't played yet because he's been being rested since the Ashes, but he just played his first Sheffield Shield game and took 6 wickets and bowled really well. So I think that Kane Richardson, who played in our side, will probably make way for Hazlewood, and then we've got pretty much our Test lineup. As for why we're so good of late, I don't know. I think it's probably a little bit of luck. We've got some pretty good pathways to excellence. Dennis Lilly has been involved for years in terms of fostering young talent. I think we do it reasonably well, and that might be part of the reason.
Yeah, fair play. There was a bit of a flashpoint, which is that the Pakistan skipper lost his cool in the middle after his teammate Asif Ali threw his wicket away during the second T20. What went on there?
I think that the ball before, there'd been an easy 2, and Ali had sauntered down for the first, and as a result, things went differently, so that they, as is the case so often with Pakistan, they are absolutely brilliant in so many ways, but sometimes they let themselves down when it comes to things like running between the wickets and fielding. And they had Mickey Arthur as their coach for a few years, who was really forcing that down them and improving them. They've ditched him, and they've got Misbah al-Haq now, who was a great captain, but he's not really had much coaching experience. So maybe they're starting to head south in those standards again.
Potentially, yes. All right, okay, so you're basically predicting an Australia series win, I take it. There's a brilliant picture that's come out, by the way, as well, of this couple watching cricket whilst they're getting married. I don't know if you've had a chance to have a look at this. So, yeah, of course you have. So it's actually in India, this picture is taken. But apparently they are fans of Pakistan, so not exactly sure what the setup is there. But basically, they're getting married, and they're sat in front of a television, and literally everyone is just craning their neck at this TV, just watching Pakistan take on Australia. That's a fantastic image, isn't it?
It is fantastic. I think it's in America, actually. They're Pakistan fans who live in America. And look, they are getting a lot of credit, but I would say, to be a little bit critical, don't schedule your wedding on the day when there's an international game of cricket. When I got married, I looked through and picked the time I knew that there was no sporting events at all going to be on. So, a little bit of criticism there, but fair play in the end. They've adapted well.
Can I just ask, do you have quite an understanding partner that allows you to watch a lot of sporting fixtures and understands that maybe that's a priority for you?
Well, she found out pretty early on what I was like. I think one of the first dates I took her on was I took her to Melbourne for the Boxing Day Test match with a promise that we'll watch a bit of the cricket and we'll do some shopping as well. And I said, all I want is to see Steve Waugh bat. And day one, India batted. Day two, India batted on and Steve Waugh didn't get a bat. Day three, he came out to bat in the morning and I said, okay, we're both going to be happy. He's either going to get 100, in which case I'll be happy. Go on, sorry?
3 days you've made us sit through a test match. That's the longest second date in history.
I know, and I promised her we'd go to the sales once he got out, but he got injured and he went off for 4 hours and I made her wait, and then he came out at the end of the day and got out for 19. So, yeah, so she knew what I was like.
See, that's what you do. Set your stall out early.
I didn't think I could like you any more than I did, but I do now. I really appreciate that story.
Paul, fantastic as ever. Appreciate you coming on. Great stuff there. Paul Dennett, Australian cricket writer. There you go. You see, set your stall out early.
What's the most selfish date you've ever been on, Rich?
Oh, that's a good question.
Family
go on.
show, mate.
Go on. No, Trick, go on. You put yours first. Let me have a little think. What's yours?
Actually, this was This was unintentional.
Yeah.
Genuinely unintentional. But my partner, who I'm still with, we'd been friends for a few years. We decided we were going to get together. Fine. So our second day, I was living up in the Lake District. She was living in London. She basically drove, bless her, all the way from London up to the Lake District. But I was out at work, right? And I was working as a local journalist. And actually, as it happened, I got called away to a court case like miles away, so I had to spend the night there. Yeah. So she spent the first night of essentially our second date on her own cleaning my flat.
No.
Yeah. That's bad, isn't it? That is really bad.
And you guys are still together?
Yeah, and she's been doing it ever since.
Wow.
Yeah, bless her.
This is it. Set your stall out early.
Mate, I felt so bad about it. I was like, right, 1950s. You come round, clean my flat. Clean it. Want to see my face on that kitchen unit? Where's dinner?
Fantastic. Well, look, I'm glad it's going well for you.
I won't go that far.
Okay. Well, there's Paul Dennett there anyway. Thank you, Paul, as ever, for coming on. Right, I want to talk a bit of football again, if that's okay with you.
Please.
A couple of games last night, interesting games. We spoke about City, of course, drawing 1-1 last night. A good win for Tottenham Hotspur. Things starting to look up, not so good against Everton last time out, but we're starting to see some positive signs.
I think so. It's this question, wasn't it, of have Spurs peaked and now it's downhill? Or, was it just a little bit of a blip? Is it going to take a bit of time to get back to where they were? I hope, just for the sake of the Premier League, really, that it was just a bit of a blip and that actually Poch hasn't, exhausted himself there, that playing talent hasn't exhausted itself. I feel, though, that January is going to be very telling for Spurs. Does Eriksen go? Do they lose a couple of other players? Does someone maybe come in for Dele Alli, for example? How do Spurs react to that? Do they buy anyone? I'm going to reserve my judgment on this Spurs season until after January.
Yeah, I think they need some recruitment, certainly a bit of recruitment in January if they can. I think what they need, ideally, they've got a big game against Sheffield United this weekend. Of course, Sheffield United ahead of them in the league at the moment. A win will likely take them above Sheffield United. The whole point is if they can get to January and be in touching distance of the top four, then they've had their hangover. They've had the European Cup final hangover, which was likely to happen, I guess you could argue. Very poor record in the league so far this season. But if they can just be there or thereabouts come January, good recruitment in January. And again, they certainly dipped into the transfer market last time out. I'm sure they will do again. Then I would still fancy them to be certainly top four, although, of course, the top four at the moment are outstanding. So it's going to be a difficult task. But look, we're going to be talking more football in the next hour. Do stay with us. 3 minutes to 9.
This is Love Sport.
Are you paying way over the odds for your car insurance? The spiralling costs put people off driving, full stop. But you're a careful driver, and realistically, you'll only need an insurance payout if some halfwit cuts you off on the M1. So you shouldn't be forced to pay massive car insurance premiums. And you don't have to. Go to price comparison site spokesmansaid.com today and find out the best value car insurance deals on the market. Don't pay the price for not shopping around.
spokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money.
Before you set off on a long journey, remember to check your vehicle. Are your tyres correctly inflated? And are the treads deep enough? Have you got enough fuel? Is your oil level right? Checking your vehicle doesn't take long, but can prevent a breakdown or accident. And save you money. So, before you set off on a long journey, check your tyres, fuel, and oil. Highways England, connecting the country.
If you fall asleep at the wheel, you'll put your life in danger, and the lives of others as well. Before you feel tired, pull off the road into a services or other safe area. Drink some strong coffee, and take a quick nap while the caffeine kicks in.
If you're having a nap, you've left your lights on, sir.
Right, cheers.
Think. Don't drive tired.
Exercise. It doesn't have to mean Lycra or a fancy gym membership. All you need is 10 minutes and you. Because a regular 10-minute brisk walk is a great way to get more active. Whether that's walking to the shops or getting off the bus to stop early. Picking up the pace and getting your heart pumping can make a real difference to your health. So, to see how much brisk walking you're doing and how you can fit more into your day, download the free Active 10 app, because there's only one you.
The final hour of the show is upon us, Patrick.
Mm-hmm.
Lee Croft, former Man City winger. You know him?
I've heard of him.
He's going to be on the line.
Yeah.
He's going to talk to us about the City draw. Of course, they drew 1-1 yesterday. We had Kyle Walker in goal, who came in for the last 10 minutes, made a save, kept a clean sheet. We'll be talking to him about that, talking to him about Claudia Bravo, of course, Edison as well. We've also got an interesting story. Club Africain, their supporters donate £350,000 in one day to save the club.
Club Africain, drinks are free.
Okay.
Pretty
sure that's not the song, but
is it not?
I enjoyed it. I did enjoy it. It was, but we're going to be speaking to someone in regards to that. Look, we'll be talking plenty of cricket, rugby, all sorts of other stuff as well. Do stay tuned. 9 o'clock.
On digital radio, online, mobile, and smart speaker.
This is Love Sport News.
From the Sky News Centre at 9, a former Labour MP has made a remarkable appeal to voters to back Boris Johnson in the general election. Ian Austin left the party in February after 14 years to stand as an independent, saying Jeremy Corbyn has failed to tackle anti-Semitism in the party. He says electors face a stark choice and the Labour leader is unfit to be Prime Minister.
There's only two people who can be Prime Minister, and sadly I've come to the conclusion that it can't be Jeremy Corbyn, and so on that basis I think people should vote for Boris Johnson. Look, I could just disappear off back to Dudley, never say a word, keep quiet. But I think people in politics have got to stand up and tell the truth. And you've got to do what you think's right, however difficult it is.
A Remain alliance of Lib Dems, Greens and Plaid Cymru will see constituencies, including the Isle of Wight and Cheltenham, go uncontested. A court in New Zealand has heard evidence from police about texts sent by British backpacker Grace Millane before she was strangled. Jackson Williams is at the trial in Auckland and says the 22-year-old from Essex was messaging a friend while on a date with the defendant.
As Grace Millane was on that Tinder date, she was also messaging one of her best friends from university, Amina Ashcroft. In the final hours of her life, she spoke of the man she was on the date with, saying he is coming to London next year and I click with him so well.
Sainsbury's has taken a £203 million hit to its balance sheet. It follows a write-down of its property portfolio after announcing plans to change the makeup of stores. More than 1 million patients could face long waits in A&E as the NHS experiences its worst ever winter. The British Medical Association is also warning 300,000 could end up waiting on trolleys. In sport, Tottenham took a big step towards the Champions League knockout stages last night with a 4-0 win at Red Star Belgrade. Manchester City drew 1-1 with Atalanta. In the Europa League, Arsenal drew 1-1 at Vitoria. And Glasgow has been named the cultural and creative capital of the UK by the European Commission. London, Bristol, Brighton and Manchester made up the rest of the top 5. That's the latest. I'm Kevin Gover.
Love Sport.
Some people find love par chance. I found love in my Citroën dealership. I looked at new Citroën C5 Aircross SUV with advanced comfort seats, and boom! They said, pay £1,794 up front, then £299 a month for 35 months. I love it. Visit your local Citroën dealership and find love too. New Citroën C5 Aircross SUV.
Citroën.
Citroën UK Limited, a credit broker, not a lender. Offer on PureTech 136-speed manual, 10,000 miles per annum. You won't own the car. Personal contract hire terms, eligibility and return conditions apply. PSA Finance UK Limited.
Love Sport Radio. On digital radio, online, mobile and smart speaker. This is Love Sport Breakfast with Richard Lee and Patrick Christys.
Love Sport Breakfast, Love Sport Radio, me, Richard Lee. Patrick Christys has touched on the top stories. A night of red cards and redemption in the Champions League as Bravo is sent off in Italy and Sun stars in Belgrade. Kyle Walker ended up in goal for City as they drew 1-1 away at Atalanta. Tottenham have gone 4 points clear of third place in Group C with a 4-0 away win against Red Star Belgrade. Arsenal's 100% win record in the Europa League ended yesterday with a 1-1 draw away to Vitoria. Emery remained stoic when asked about the possibility of being replaced by Jose Mourinho. And numerous Premiership chairmen want Saracens stripped of their 2018 and 2019 titles in a move which would see them handed to runners-up Exeter. See the titles handed to runners-up Exeter. I am here with Mr. Patrick Christys, here with you for another hour or so. And of course, the brilliant Martin Bell is up after us. Saracens.
Yes.
Talk to me.
Well, this is going to rumble on. This story is not going away anytime soon. Just to fill people in, take you right back to the very beginning, Saracens were fined £5.36 million, huge amount of money, and 35 points. Had them deducted because they broke the salary cap rules. There's supposed to be a £7 million cap on a total number of salaries that you can pay for your squad, etc. That, however, is a bit grey area because if you've got a lot of homegrown English talent, which they do at Saracens, in the likes of Owen Farrell, Maro Itoje, etc., then you can raise it to around the £9 million mark. Anyway, slightly irrelevant because the main thing is whatever it was, they went over that. What was happening is that the owner, Nigel Ray, worth 350 million quid, and that's a conservative estimate, by the way. He decided that there was maybe a little way round this salary cap, potentially, which was to pay the players what he was paying them and then set up investment firms with them on the side. So, clearly, they would get extra income. It would probably set them up again for life after rugby and give them a legitimate business to... Look, because in rugby, I mean, let's be honest, one injury. I mean, every single day as a rugby player could be your last day.
Yeah.
So, fair play, he sets them up outside. Now, a lot of clubs complained, and clearly the investigative body found that this was wrong. Now, what started to happen is that other clubs, such as Exeter Chiefs, and in fact the chairman at several other clubs, are saying that Saracens should be stripped of their 2018 and 2019 Champions titles, and those would be given to Exeter. We've also got Rob Shaw, who was the England captain for a good while, actually, under Eddie Jones, saying that the sport now is like a bit of a crossroads. That essentially the pinnacle of it was a lie. The pinnacle of it was illegal, and that this is a dangerous moment for our sport. I don't get it. No. I don't get it. And again, I keep asking people, do call in 0208 70 25 58 and kind of just try and change my mind on this, please. But my attitude is this: first and foremost, it's sport, it's competitive. I don't see what is wrong with a club setting up investment firms with its players on the side. The thing that is going to happen now, and this is the thing that may well completely undermine everything that I'm saying, and if it does, then cool, but we don't know about it yet, is were these firms just a total sham? If they were a total sham, and we see that there was various cash amounts just being randomly injected into these companies from the owner, right, then that undoubtedly is a second salary that would have broken the salary rules.
Yeah.
But we don't know that yet. And if that isn't the case, if these are legitimate businesses, which actually you would have to say with Nigel Ray at the helm, plus one of the biggest names in world rugby, Owen Farrell, if you can't make that a successful business, then you've got issues, right? So there's every chance it was legitimate. I feel that other clubs have been very jealous of, frankly, the ingenuity that's gone on at Saracens and the success that they've had off the back of it.
So the bit that I don't understand, by all means, let us know your thoughts on this 0208 70 20 558. The bit I don't get, and the bit where I'm biased, I guess, is from a football background, seeing how the Premier League has grown, there are very few stipulations, one being the financial fair play, which is based on a percentage of income. Now, I get that. Long-term futures of clubs are important. Now, when you have a very, very wealthy owner, like a lot of these clubs do, again, they find ways in which they can maximise the financial fair play, and they will be right on the limit, which... So I look at American sports, I look at the MLS, good example actually, and I can see the similarities with rugby to an extent. Again, correct me if I'm wrong, but each MLS team, their players are funded by the league. Now, what then happens, they've got a budget that they have to fit within for their players. However, they are allowed then a designated player, or maybe two, or maybe four, in LA Galaxy's case, where they'll bring in the likes of an Ibrahimovic, who of course isn't going to fit within their salary cap. So they have their few bits of stardust that bring the fans in, and then they've got their squad, which will be maybe largely American players to try and help the national team and so on and so forth. I just think that with rugby, you just got to be so careful that it becomes restrictive, and then naturally people want to play abroad where the money is. When if there is more money in France, which I believe there is, then of course if you're a rugby player, and I know they put certain rules in place that you can't then play for England, which seems ludicrous as well. It just seems like the 3 or 4 rules that need to be changed if English rugby is going to be the biggest and best league in the world.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think at the moment there's a situation in rugby in this country anyway where we want people to invest. We want people to lose millions of pounds a year in a rugby club. We want them to invest in top talent, the best English talent. We force our English players to play in this league, but then we don't really let them see any financial benefits or silverware or tangible results off the back of what it is they've invested. Well, that's stupid. Imagine going on Dragon's Den with that. Like seriously, just imagine if we went with this current system to Dragon's Den and pitched it to them, and we say, right, so what we want from you is about 20 million quid of your money every year, every single year, and what we'll do with that is we will just buy what players are available, and that's going to be basically a selection of the same players as everybody else, so you get quite evenly matched teams. And I can't guarantee you any success, but if we could just still have that 20 mil every year. So, well, no.
What's the point?
Why? Why on earth would I do that?
Yeah.
So this is why it has to change. You have to dangle the carrot in front of people's eyes. You have to say to them, this is what you could win. And also, for our English players, Rich, you know, the only reason why we were able to go and compete against the All Blacks and get to World Cup finals and do this and that is not just Eddie Jones's brilliance. It's the fact that a lot of these, especially Saracens players, are playing at the thick end of European competitions in big games. It doesn't happen if you start reducing the wage.
I guess the counter argument, and I would understand this as well, is that they want to keep it as fair as possible, and I do understand that argument as well.
It's not communism, mate.
No, but this is it. But then I guess you look at the Premier League, and it is a money table. You know, you look at how it finishes at the end of the season. More often than not, within a place or two, it will be based on how much money a club has. Which, again, because I've grown up with that, that's what I understand to be right. And if you are, you know, I use Matt Benham at Brentford, great example. Brentford fan as a kid, stood on the terraces, his dream to own a football club and take them to the Premier League. And he may well get there, taking them from League Two to the Championship now. And he's been able to put so much money into that, so much of his wealth into that to achieve a personal dream, which is helping so many fans, people that are buying into his ideas, buying into the club more, a new stadium they're moving into next season. It's things dreams are made of. But that's the incentive to that, because you know that you can, utilising your wealth, build that, which isn't necessarily the case in rugby, of course. So
I think that what is going to happen now, first and foremost, okay, I don't see how you strip. Also, I don't see what the point is, by the way, of stripping them of their titles, so that Exeter get to what, you know, have just engrave something else on their winners board and go, oh look, you didn't win it. Actually, you didn't win it. Okay, fine, Saracens did win it, and yeah, so there's that. But I think that the likes of Farrell and Itoje and the Vunipola brothers as well, who all have these investment firms with Nigel Ray, I think HMRC are going to come down on them like a ton of bricks. There's going to be a room full of people currently there, you know, just glasses on, thick glasses on, just staring at spreadsheets, sifting through them, going like, this is like our Glastonbury, looking through it all, just trying to find out the legitimacy of these businesses. And I wouldn't be surprised if we end up with, you know, letters coming at the end of January from HMRC to the Farrell household saying, can we have £250,000 quid, please?
Well, we shall see. This story, no doubt, will run on and on. No doubt we'll be touching on it again tomorrow. We're going to be speaking to Lee Croft shortly, former Man City winger. Of course, City drew last night. Probably should have been 4 up, I'd say, at half-time. They controlled the game against Atalanta. Ederson goes off injured at half-time. Claudio Bravo comes on. No chance for the goal, the equalising goal, although a few moments thereafter weren't so good. Ends up getting sent off. Bad decision to come rushing out. Brings down a player and gets sent off. And, of course, Kyle Walker goes in goal, keeps a clean sheet, plays the last 10 minutes or so. The interesting point is, of course, they go into the game this weekend against Liverpool. They're going to go in likely without Ederson. I don't see you coming off at half-time in a game and then turning up for the next game, although David De Gea did for Spain, it's fair to say, the other week, which is a bit strange. But ordinarily, if you're coming off at half-time in a Champions League game, you don't do that unless it's reasonably serious.
Yeah, well, that's it. There's no indication at the minute as to exactly what is wrong with him. However, I think that's the title gone. I know that might seem a bit of an exaggeration. I don't think it is. I think Liverpool, with Claudio, the idea of, you know, Liverpool's front three and just the whole team, actually, you know, look at what Trent Alexander-Arnold's done. Trent Alexander-Arnold this year has already put more than 150 crosses into the box. Right. Now, that is going to find out Claudio Bravo pretty quickly.
Well, he's going to be interesting whether, and this is, you make the statement there, the title's gone. I think it'll be interesting to see how long Ederson's out. If it's just this game, which it may well be, they've got the international break, so if it's just a grade 1 strain, then it might just be a couple of weeks. He might then be fit for the next game, which if that is the case, then it might not be too serious. But this game, for me, is key for City. Of course, they can't really afford to lose. I'd suggest, and I say this based on, without being too over dramatic, because we are still really early in the season, and you say 9 points, well, you got, what was it, 25 games or so to catch up. However, the point is that City, when they won the league last season, dropped 16 points. When they won the league the season before, they dropped 14 points. That's it. A 9-point gap. Liverpool might not drop 9 points. They've already dropped 2. So if they're going to do and replicate what City did, they might only drop 12 more. Well, look, if they've got a 9-point gap, they're pretty much there. City are going to have to. It might even be the case that City have to win near enough every single game other than one in order to win the title.
As our YouTube viewers can testify to, I have a considerable gut, and I like to go off gut feeling. Okay, and this year, it just feels like the title's going to Merseyside. It just feels like it. And if they beat City, which I think with Claudio Bravo in there, I honestly think it'll be a cricket score. Because this City defence do not look as solid as they have done in the past. And Bravo is dodgy, right? He is a dodgy keeper. I do not understand how on earth he's had the career that he's had, because he's useless. I think that Liverpool will stick 4 or 5 past him.
Considerable is an understatement. We're going to be talking to Lee Croft, former Man City winger, next.
This is Love Sport.
Home insurance is vital. You don't want to end up paying through the nose when something goes wrong. But are you being charged way too much for your home cover? Are your insurance premiums simply too much to bear? It doesn't have to be that way. A spokesmansaid.com is a price comparison website that trawls the internet to find the best deal for you. Don't pay the price for not shopping around. Visit a spokesmansaid.com and start saving today.
Spokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money.
I love my brother. We do fun things like playing together. I like having hugs with Freddie. Freddie gives the best hugs. Freddie used to be very poorly, and the doctor said he might need a new liver. Then one day, a very nice person gave their liver to Freddie. It was amazing. We were so happy. Now he's around to give me more hugs than ever.
Tell your family you want to save lives. To find out more, visit organdonation.nhs.uk.
If you're driving on a motorway and you see a red X sign overhead, you need to change lanes safely. Driving in a red X lane is an offence. Red X's are there for a reason, to protect you and others from danger. The lane may be blocked by a broken down vehicle or road workers, or the lane may be needed for the emergency services. So if you see a red X, change lanes safely. Highways England, connecting the country.
My mum and dad say that I don't need lots of sugar. I'm sweet enough already. So we used the Change for Life food scanner app to find out how much sugar is in our food and drink. It's surprising how much we found. So I put my detective hat on to find the healthier choices. Woohoo! Found one, Mum! You can be food smart too. Download the free Change for Life food scanner app today.
This is Love Sport.
Lost for breakfast, mutually Patrick Christys. We're touching on the City result. Of course, drew 1 all away at Atalanta last night, which in the end, a reasonable result. It means they should be absolutely fine in their group, but they have got some injury woes. We're going to be speaking now to Lee Croft. Morning, Lee.
Morning, mate. You all right?
Morning. Yeah, good, thanks. Hope you're well. Want to talk to you about this game last night. In the end, the result was okay. In fact, they celebrated at the end, given some of the issues they had. I want to talk to you about the goalkeeping situation, because Ederson did get injured. It looks likely, we would think, that he's going to miss the game at the weekend, so Claudio Bravo will likely line up against Liverpool. How big of a blow is that for City?
Yeah, I think it is. I think it is a big blow. But as I say, it's a chance for Bravo to come in and get another game. I think obviously Ederson, I think he made a bit of a mistake in the Southampton game last week, didn't he, with his fumble and gifting them that goal. But no, he's been great this year, Ederson, and he weakness, I'm sure, for the massive game.
Yeah, do you think that, I know it's early days, and I know this might sound a bit ridiculous, but if Liverpool do manage to beat City, and if that is aided by the fact that Bravo's in net, do you think the title is pretty much done?
I think that this year, I think Liverpool have got a better chance than the previous years. I just think the squad's so good, playing so well, and I think it will be massive if they can get the 3 points on Saturday. I think Liverpool will probably be they'll be happy if they can probably even if they get a point on Sunday. Keep that gap between them and Manchester City. But yeah, I think it'll be a massive turning point if they. Either way, I think if they win, I think would that take them to 9 points. Yeah. And I think it'll be a big turning point the other way as well. I think if City can go there, they reduce the gap to 3 points, and that'll be a massive win for them, obviously, as well. So it's a massive game on Sunday.
And a quick word on Kyle Walker. Of course, he stepped in goal last night when Bravo got sent off. During your time at City, did you ever jump in goal?
I remember playing in one game, which was a bit bizarre, involving a goalkeeper. I think we were playing Middlesbrough at the end of the season, and Stuart Pearce threw David James up front when we needed a goal for the last 10. I was playing in that game, and then he brought Nicky Weaver on and put David James up front. It didn't work, but it raised a few eyebrows at the time.
Yeah, I remember that. That was absolutely bonkers, wasn't it? I love that.
Yeah,
I think that I kind of miss a little bit of that nuttery going about. Do you know what I mean? I want us to see something. I want to just see something. I'm like, wow, I've never seen that before. Excellent.
Yeah, what is going on here?
Kind of wish he'd scored just so it'd keep happening. You know what I mean? Like just for some reason, David James got 100% success rate up front. I'd love that. But yeah, fantastic. Well, look, Pep Guardiola obviously has got his work cut out potentially. Do you think, though, that most City fans would rather win the Champions League than the Premier League, which might be just as well because, Liverpool are doing all right at the minute?
I think that, I think, City is obvious that City do want to win that Champions League for the first time. Obviously, they've won the Premier League on a couple of occasions now. And I don't know. I think they do want to. I think they would really like to retain that Premier League trophy. I think that's. It showed with Liverpool last year. They couldn't win the league, but then they've got that, that cup mentality where they can go and they can get results against Barcelona like they did last year. But that is the one that's eluding Man City and Pep Guardiola at City. So I'm sure it'd probably be mixed. I think a lot of fans would like them to win both, obviously. But, if they had the choice, maybe the Champions League would be the one that a lot of them go for because they haven't won it yet.
Yeah, I've got a couple of questions I want to ask you actually on other clubs, Lee, that you were involved with. Obviously, Norwich City, Derby County. Firstly, Derby, because they're big news at the moment. In fact, the PFA have come out today and said they're going to back Richard Keogh in regards to him being sacked last week. What are your thoughts on that situation? Because it's blown up in quite a big way. Of course, the PFA is seemingly going to back him. He's got his lawyers involved as well. He's appealing this sacking. What do you make of that?
It's a bit of a crazy situation, isn't it? I think the way they're looking at it is he was club captain, and you've got to lead by example, and you shouldn't be doing what they were doing. And then on the flip side, I think you look at it and think, well, he actually wasn't, one of the lads who was drink driving, was he? And he was just he was unlucky to be in the car and the one who picks up the really bad injury. So. I don't know. I think it was reckless on all the parts of the lads who were obviously out and who got into trouble. But I think, personally, it is quite harsh. And I think you've got to look at it in a way where, maybe, if Richard Keogh was an asset to them and they wanted to keep him, then, they wouldn't have used this as an excuse to get rid of him. That's my opinion on it.
Yeah, no, look, man, I think you're absolutely spot on. It's something we've been saying here before, isn't it? Which is, it sounds ridiculous because he's 34, but it does feel a bit like ageism. Like it does feel like if he was still worth 10 or 15 million quid, like they're not doing this, are they? Really, I don't think so. So yeah, I appreciate you being honest about that. Just quickly on back to City. Some of the good youngsters coming through there. Phil Foden is one of them. Would you like to see Pep maybe dropping them in a little bit more? Do you think, or do you reckon his hands are tied a bit at the minute because City haven't necessarily got off to the best start?
Yeah, I'm 100% in that category. Yeah, like I love watching Phil Foden. I love watching, obviously, young players come through at City. The fans love it. I know they really, really like the young players coming through. And I think he's a massive talent. And whenever I see him, whenever he comes on, I love watching him. And I'd definitely love to see him get a bit more game time. And as I say, I think Pep Guardiola, I think he really, really likes him. I think he's just got to trust him in more games and give him more game time, because I think he is good enough to play in that side.
Yeah. On a slight tangent, got to ask you this. You, when you were at City, Kevin Keegan was your manager for a brief period of time. How was he as a manager?
Yeah. Brilliant. He was brilliant. So enthusiastic. You hear managers talking about players now, and you can't get them off the training ground because they're always out doing extra and they're always out shooting, and always fun and infectious. And he was exactly the same. He was the last one off the training ground. He was on shooting drills, and he was still had so much talent even at that age. And he was he was just an infectious character, and he's a great manager to work for.
Fantastic. And lastly, just want to touch on Norwich again, another one of your former clubs. Tough time for them after their brilliant result against Man City. They've really struggled last few games. What do you feel the season is looking like for them? Do you think they've got enough to escape relegation?
Earlier on, I would have said yeah. When I went to Anfield and watched them in the first league game, and I thought, they got beat, but they equipped themselves really well, and they've got some good young players, and they try and play football the right way. And I really hope that they do have enough to stay up. But then I think there's been a few results recently, especially at home, where they've conceded quite a lot of goals. And then you think last week, when they go to Brighton, you think, right, this is a big game where you think they could get something from, and they don't get anything out of that. So I think something's got to change, but I honestly hope that they do have enough, because, as I say, they've got a really good young team, and I think I like watching them. They play good football.
Yeah, brilliant. All right, now very, very lastly, because I'm sorry we are keeping you here, but I always ask this when we get a former, top football talent on. Did you have any pre-game superstitions?
Pre-game superstitions.
So some people always put the left sock on first. Richard had a lucky stone. Seriously, I know it's weird, right? I dig him out for it every day. Had a lucky stone, right? Thanks. So basically, you're not going to be the weirdest one in this conversation, is what I'm saying.
No, I didn't really have any, mate. To be honest, I mean, the only thing I just used to hate. I used to hate wearing shin pads because I thought they were really, really heavy, and so I used to. The only one thing I used to do, I always used to cut. The foam padding.
Yeah.
But I used to cut that out, and I always used to wear them for shin pads, which I don't think you're supposed to do. I don't think you're meant to do that, but yeah, that was my thing.
Brilliant.
Good. Any kids listening in, do not do that at home.
Do not copy that.
Lee, really appreciate having you on.
Cheers, mate.
That's Lee.
All right, top man.
Great stuff. Lee Croft there, former Man City winger, giving his thoughts on the result last night.
I was wondering how many times we could say just one last thing to him.
Yeah, no, yeah.
And it got to a point when actually my producer just shot me a look. I was like, just stop it. We all know what you're doing.
We've had him on 12 minutes
We've
now.
had him on 12 minutes. Just one more thing, actually, Lee. Well, just what I've got you, mate. Just lastly. To wrap this up, Lee, could we just,
He had an excellent career, by the way, of course, and the fact that he played under Kevin Keegan, I had to ask that, because we talk about Kevin Keegan from time to time. Obviously an interesting manager, and someone that I think I would have liked to have played under. He always gave that impression, much as Sir Alex might have got the better of him from time to time, but you just felt like he was the type of manager you would have wanted to play for.
He was my mum's favourite manager, which speaks volumes, actually, because she liked him because he's so passionate, his heart was on his sleeve, he was he was unashamedly emotional guy, and he's a few little childlike qualities about him, actually, but obviously a fantastic footballer, a good manager. Like, you can't not like him, really, I think.
Yeah, and he did. He played, Lee Croft did play under him for City. He played a couple of seasons at City, Lee.
He did. My friend at the time I was growing up with was looking after Mika Richards. So Mika Richards stayed with my friend's mum and dad, basically, for a period of time. It's not uncommon, obviously, these football clubs have that. And Lee Croft had come out, so I have actually met him.
Really?
Yeah. Oh. But, I was quite young, and obviously he doesn't remember me.
No.
So I didn't bring it up.
Well, you're not overly memorable.
Well, I'd say we were mates. I'd go as far as to say we were mates.
Like best friends?
Yeah. Well, I carved his name into a tree once.
This is getting stranger by the minute. We're going to be talking about an interesting story. Club Afrikaan supporters donate £350,000. That's not the song, Patrick. £350,000 in one day to save their club. 27 minutes past 9.
Love sport.
Hi, I'm Barry. I'm a retired school bursar from Chingford. I thought I was paying too much for my energy and went onto a spokesmansaid.com and found that I could reduce my costs overall by £568 per annum, and I'm very grateful for that help.
with a spokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money.
Driving too close to the car in front gives you less time to react. You may not realize that you're tailgating. Leave a 2-second gap between you and the vehicle in front. When it's wet, leave a 4-second gap. By staying back, you give yourself time to react. Stay safe. Stay back. Highways England, connecting the country.
How are you? How are you really? Modern life can be busy, and sometimes it's easier to look after others before looking after yourself. But there's only one you. And making small changes to your lifestyle now could improve your chances of staying healthier longer. So take the first step to a healthier you with our free How Are You quiz. See how you score and get personalised tips and support. From how to eat a little healthier to turning a 10-minute walk into exercise. Just search 1U.
You probably think you're pretty good at multitasking behind the wheel. I mean, you have to multitask to drive. So what's wrong with checking your phone? The thing is, your brain simply doesn't work. Even a quick look at a message, or firing off a quick reply, affects your concentration and makes you less able to react to hazards. If you use a mobile phone while driving, you're 4 times more likely to crash. Think. Put your phone away.
This is Love Sport.
Yes, hello everybody, good morning. This is Love Sport Breakfast with me, Patrick Christys and Richard Lee. Now, we like to kind of leave you with a warm, fuzzy feeling inside. Something to really kickstart your day, something uplifting. And here we are. Supporters of Tunisia's Club Africain have donated more than $450,000, about 350 grand in sterling, in just one day as they battle to save the financially troubled club. This includes, believe it or not, a blind fan who chose to forego their medicine that he had been saving in order to help his beloved team. Now, very lucky here. We were joined, actually, by a Tunisian football journalist who helped to break this story, Suhail Kamira. Suhail, absolute pleasure to have you on the show. So, yeah, just run us through what's going on at Club Africain.
Yes, good morning. Club Africain have been struggling for a while, actually, because they have, over the last few years, they have signed a couple of players, they've made a couple of bad deals, and now it's come back to haunt them. Those players have sued the team for unlawful termination, and now they're requesting their unpaid dues and unpaid salary. That's led to a huge debt of around 17 million Tunisian dinars, which is roughly about 5.5 to 6 million British pounds. So the club is in a huge debt and they're struggling. They've already been sanctioned with a 6-point deduction and they're risking further sanctions. So they're calling out to their fans to support them, to help them overcome this difficult crisis, this difficult period of time that they're going through.
Well, so this amount of money raised in just one day, as mentioned, $450,000. Is that enough at the moment to keep them going for a period of time, or does that solve the problems?
It's a huge amount of money for Tunisia, especially. We're talking about well over 1 million Tunisian dollars. It's a huge amount of money. It's enough to help to keep them afloat for now, because why they raised that amount of money in such a short period is because they have sanctions coming up. They have amounts to be paid by November 18th. So if they don't pay them, they risk further sanctions. So that'll at least provide them with a good window of time. It's a good amount of money. It's a significant amount of money that can help at least buy them some time. It's not going to help solve all their problems, but at least it'll give them enough time to figure out more solutions as they go.
So are they, do they have a massive fan base then over there? And also, I think there are some correlations, aren't there, actually, between Bury, really, Bolton, Wanderers over here in this country, 2 clubs who've been through the ringer, Bury especially, out of the Football League. So it's quite reassuring, I suppose, to see fans stepping up and doing this. Do you reckon that the club will actually survive?
Yes. First of all, Club Africain is the second oldest club here in Tunisia. They have a gigantic fan base, if not one of the biggest in Tunisia and perhaps in Africa. percentage-wise, not number-wise, because Tunisia is not a very big country, as you know.
Yeah.
They will. Their fans have showed up to support them numerous occasions. This wasn't the first time. This is an ongoing campaign. This is not just a one-day thing, and they will. Club Africain is one of the biggest teams here in Tunisia. They will survive this. They will get through this. So they will survive this. Actually, it's not gonna. This is not gonna bring them down. It's not something that's gonna cause the team to disappear. Of course, even if, God forbid, the FA would not let such thing happen. The fans will not let it happen. If they find themselves at risk of being relegated or being dissolved, no, they would not allow that to happen, because Club Africain has a significant weight in the Tunisian league. He's a main competitor in the league, and they cannot afford to let them go under.
Yeah, I'm just having a look actually at some of the former players, as it were, some of the success stories. Ali Abdi is a left back who's playing in Paris at the minute as well. So there's a couple. I believe they've got a couple at Vitesse Arnhem as well. So some really, some quite prestigious players have come out of that club. So yeah, fingers crossed for them. But is this quite a heartwarming story in a sense to you? Has it restored your faith in humanity? Do you think that, so many people are so passionate about football, passionate about their club, that they'd be willing to, even in the case of a blind person, forego their medication to help keep their club afloat?
Yes, it is. It is indeed. It's a very heartwarming story. It's an amazing sensation. It's really one of those things that can help restore your faith in humanity. I mean, as you saw, a blind man actually chose to give up the money he was saving up for medicine to go help Club Africain. He was even quoted saying, "It's okay. I would prefer if I were to die than Club Africain were to die." This is exactly what he said. And not only that, children were walking up the banks with piggy banks to help donate with little change that they have. So it's a great feeling. It's a great show of solidarity from all Club Africain fans, really. It's just spectacular, to say the least.
It's fantastic. Another story I actually did see, I wanted to ask you about, a real random story, but they lost 8-0 recently, I believe. And afterwards, is it right in saying that the owners or the manager came out and decided to drug test his own players because he thought they might have been poisoned?
Actually, that was quite a funny story, actually, because Club Africain lost 8-0 to TP Mazembe, which was the biggest loss that any team has suffered in the group stage. And so because the performance was so poor that day, that actually Club Africain thought that they had been poisoned or they had been drugged. So they decided to actually drug test their players because they feared that perhaps someone from TP Mazembe had slipped them something in their foods and their drinks that caused them to perform so badly. But they even went as far as to send the samples to France to be tested. But still, the results came back negative, and it was just actually they just weren't in their best performance, to say the least.
Wow,
it was just a dreadful one. That's so funny. Well, look, Sahil, we wish you all the best. Hopefully, it's better times to come for Club Africain.
Thank you. It's cheers.
Great stuff.
Thank
Sahil Kamira there, Tunisian football journalist, of course. A great story, this. How funny is that, though, that they drug test their own players? You imagine, like, a Premier League team. I think we were poisoned today.
Yeah. But it's actually turned out that 3 of the team were on performance-enhancing drugs. So that makes it even worse, doesn't it, really? Oh, no!
We were that bad.
How?
Oh.
Your urine is bright green. It is radioactive. How have you been so bad? Can you imagine if that was just it, though? Like, it is just one step away, isn't it, from just oh gosh, boys, we're 6-0 down. If we don't watch it, they're going to interrogate us.
Well, look, great story. I'll continue our football chat, not necessarily about players being poisoned, although maybe they have. Let's talk Man United. They've got a game tonight. Of course, they're taking on Partizan Belgrade. We saw Red Star Belgrade, who got beaten heavily by Spurs last night. So I'm sure we're going to see Man United win heavily tonight.
Well, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's called for Sir Alex Ferguson-style front foot football, which is actually quite difficult to say. But yeah, he's calling for that. Clearly, he's also saying, basically, he's done the kind of classic PE teacher thing of more shots, more goals, boys. It's literally what he's saying. We need to go for goals. I'd rather these boys go for it and make a mistake or two. United are top of their group, 7 points. They're 2 points above Alkmaar in second. Belgrade are in third on 4 points, and Astana are yet to get off the mark. So, look, Manchester United clearly should put this lot to bed. We'll have to wait and see. It is a work in progress going on at Old Trafford, but really the subtext of this game is the return of Tosic to Old Trafford. Tosic was signed for £7 million. Zoran Tosic, this is, was signed for £7 million by Sir Alex Ferguson. And he's done a really heartwarming piece in the Daily Mail today, actually, just saying how when he first got to Manchester United and when he first came on the pitch, he replaced Cristiano Ronaldo in an FA Cup game. And I'm not joking you. I would urge everyone to go have a look at this picture. His shorts are like below his knee, way below his knees. He's just like one of the scrawniest people you've ever seen. Yeah. Clearly had a lot of talent, this winger. Was highly rated, but he'd never even seen a gym before. He said he'd never even seen a gym, and he got to United, and there's 36-year-old Ryan Giggs turning up to training 3 hours early, doing his yoga, doing his way to Ronaldo, of course, we all know what he was about. And he just openly said, he's like, I just wasn't prepared. I just wasn't ready for it.
Yeah, do you know, it's a different conversation, but this goes back to the environment. We talk a lot about City, about Chelsea, where they've got these most incredible environments. You actually wonder for a lot of these kids in other countries where they haven't got the facilities, it's only going to become tougher and tougher for players in these countries to actually make it to the very top level.
But it makes it even more impressive. I think that is something, isn't it? When you do see a player who's come from, I don't know, look, one of the poorer African nations, and absolutely smashing the living heck out of it in the Premier League, and you think, wow. And it does beg the question, doesn't it? How good could you have been? How good could you have been if you'd have come through Chelsea's academy from the age of 5 or something,
Yeah, absolutely. Partisans, they played English teams 9 times. They've only won once. Do you want to guess which English team that was against?
United?
Newcastle back in 2003. So no, look, they've lost 7.
Question.
No, they've lost 7 of the 9. So it should be a comfortable win for United. Certainly bearing in mind that they're 10 points behind Red Star Belgrade, who of course were battered last night by Spurs. Wolves play as well tonight. They've got Slovan Bratislava tonight. They're second of the group, 6 points. They've got a much tougher group than United, Besiktas and Braga as well. So Wolves, a tougher game for them, but they're doing well so far in this competition.
Yeah, Wolves are. I like the fact that they're playing in this competition. I think it is now where they've deserved to be for a little while. I think the quality of football that they've got there is sensational, and they've managed to not quite let it massively impact on their season. I think at the start it was a little bit dodgy, but I rate them, and I think they're a club. By the way, they're a fabulously wealthy club. Well, fabulously wealthy club.
Oh yeah,
like incredibly so. And I think that the way it's going, they could start to see themselves regularly in a top kind of 5 or 6 slot.
People did predict, there was a lot of people predicting this season might be the season. It feels more like it's a consolidation as to what happened last season. Maybe they go again next season, but you're right with the back. Actually, a lot of it came out when Thomas Cook went down, because then there was a realisation of them being involved with Wolves and just how much money this company had. Want to touch on United again, the fact that this game against Partizan Belgrade, look, they should win. It should be a comfortable victory for United. If they weren't to win, if they were to lose, then it would put their Europa League campaign in a bit of jeopardy, because if they're to win, they're as good as through. They'll have 10 points. They'll be 6 points above third place, 2 games to go, so they're as good as through. If they were to lose, however, then AZ Alkmaar are a good team, and it would be interesting to see how United were to get on. AZ Alkmaar could go top of the table if they were to beat FC Astana tonight, so it is quite a big game for United. To an extent, it's funny with these Europa League games, certainly in the group stages, we don't really give a lot of airtime to it. It just feels like you expect the team, certainly in England, to get to the knockout stages, so we don't really give it a lot of airtime. But it's actually a bit of a tricky one tonight for United.
No, definitely, and I think that I didn't get carried away when United won 2 or 3 games in a row. But it was nice. It was reassuring. It looked as though there were maybe at least the seeds of something being sown there. I thought that loss against Bournemouth was just a real hammer blow, actually, and I think a defeat tonight or anything other than quite a convincing victory, I actually think now it would get to a point when you go, is Solskjaer improving these players? Yeah. Is he improving this team? Is there more of an identity? Can you see what is trying to be done here? I think there's going to be really, really serious questions about that.
One player I just want to touch on very quickly, Daniel James. Fair to say, he's made a very good start this season. Yeah. I actually went for a coffee yesterday with one of his friends, a friend of his that was at Swansea, one of the goalkeepers at Swansea when they were together, and they used to share a room together in Swansea. And he was just telling me just how much he's enjoying his time at Manchester United, how, again, really nice lad, actually. He took all of his friends in the summer to Marbella, so they had a holiday in Marbella. He's paid for everything, just looked after them, and he couldn't speak highly enough of him. So it sounds like he's obviously taken to life at Manchester United brilliantly. Incredible upgrade from where he was previously. 20 games, remember. That's all he played for Swansea. Made the step up. And it's bearing in mind, you would have thought he would have joined as a squad player, one with potential that maybe next year after, he'd break through and be the kind of talent they think he could be. It's fair to say he's been their best player this season?
I think so. I think he's been an absolute revelation. And it's not actually just how good he is on the ball, and he is good on the ball, and he clearly can finish, and he's a threat. It's his pace. It's his pace in behind. But it's one thing just having that pace and being able to just kind of blindly run in behind. It's another thing actually having the positional awareness to actually spot that gap and make it count. And the amount of times he puts defenders in a direct situation where they have to choose between basically letting him wander through on goal or bringing him down and conceding a penalty is ridiculous. I think the guy has got a massive future at Old Trafford.
I would have to agree. The time is 17 minutes to 10.
Giving your team a voice. Love Sport Radio.
Hi, I'm Dean. I work for a successful shipping company in Suffolk. Ever since I heard about people's success with the spokesmansaid.com, I knew I had to investigate for myself. Every time I need to compare car insurance, home insurance and energy bills, I always contact a spokesmansaid.com. This year alone, I saved over £260 on my car insurance and also £585 on my energy bills. I saved big through a spokesmansaid.com, and you could too.
With a spokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money.
Before you set off on a long journey, remember to check your vehicle. Are your tyres correctly inflated? And are the treads deep enough? Have you got enough fuel? Is your oil level right? Checking your vehicle doesn't take long, but can prevent a breakdown or accident and save you money. So, before you set off on a long journey, check your tyres, fuel and oil. Highways England, connecting the country.
If you see somebody showing any of the signs of a stroke, you don't have to think about it, you just dial 999. Use the FAST test. F. Face. Has their face fallen on one side? Can they smile? A. Arms. Can they raise both arms and keep them there? S. Speech. Is their speech slurred? T. Time. Time to call 999 if you see any one of these signs. Act fast, make the call, dial 999.
Whoa! Look how much saturated fat is in these chocolate biscuits. It's surprising how much is in our food and drinks. For us kids, eating too much saturated fat can lead to harmful fat building up inside, which we can't see, increasing the risk of heart disease or stroke when we get older. So be food smart. Download the free Change for Life food scanner app and start making healthier choices today.
Love Sport.
Love for breakfast. Me, Richard Lee, Patrick Christys here with you for another 15 minutes or so. The brilliant Martin Bell is coming up after us. We're now joined by former editor of The Sun, Mr. Kelvin Mackenzie. Good morning.
Morning.
Morning. You have a message?
Yes, I'm just saying how delighted I am that Tom Watson has finally bowed out of public life. The Nick situation where he basically, through his majesty of being the deputy leader of the Labour Party, got involved in the upper regions of the Scotland Yard, saying we should investigate this, investigate that, investigate the bloody other. Right? You can imagine, can't you? A major politician on your case. You're a cop, even if you're quite a senior cop. I mean, it's quite a lot to take on board. And the effect, of course, was that he was completely wrong. And loads of people, the one I feel desperately sorry for is the former Home Secretary, who went to his grave without having been cleared of these allegations. And I never heard Watson apologise to any of those people. You know, what about Bramall? The cops sent 16 police officers to his home to investigate the fact that he may have murdered a child and stabbed to death somebody and been a paedophile. Ludicrous allegations, right, of which Watson never apologised to Bramall. He never apologised to any of these people. His argument afterwards, this is because he's a cunning political piece of work who had been flogging his backside for the Labour Party for 35 years. Let's hope he wasn't doing as bad stuff about that as he was in relation to the Nick allegations. his argument at the end was, I hope that this case doesn't stop other paedophiles being exposed. Really? Is that the best you can do? Is that the best you can do? The fact that he's out of public life is a great thing. He's lost 8 stone in weight, which appears to be the major story involving him. He didn't get on with Corbyn. It's the only good thing I've ever thought about Corbyn, was that he disliked Tom Watson. Yeah, good idea, right? It comes to me fairly naturally. I think that what we're seeing with politicians, and I've seen it with Philip Hammond as well, the former Chancellor and my local MP, what you're seeing is people who get too wrapped up in themselves, that they think that what they think is important. Actually, it's not important. It's your party which is important. And the sooner we begin to understand that, rather than personal ambition and hubris and all that kind of stuff, then we'll get a better quality of politician. What is beginning to emerge is that these people are no better than the rest of us, and we're paying them good money to make decisions about important factors. It makes you very worried, doesn't it?
Not being funny, they're not just no better than us. Some of them are much, much worse.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Keith Vaz, for goodness' sake.
It's an absolute shocker, Keith Vaz.
That's as bad as... Well, yeah, actually, it's probably about as bad as it gets. That probably. It's hard to think how that could have got much worse, especially for his wife. And you think right now, is it a case actually that, and it pains me to say this, should we up the salary of MPs from, it's about 89 at the minute, to
plus expenses,
plus very comprehensive expenses package, especially if your name's David Lammy, by the way. But should we up it to 150? Because that way, then you start to draw in top talent from other areas of life. Because at the minute, a lot of people could just go and work in the city, or go and become an accountant or a lawyer for that money, probably a bit more money. And that is more appealing to them than sitting in the House of Commons now, having press go through your bins.
Okay, well, yes, but I'd also include the fact they have to have had a proper job. And I don't mean going to work for a trade union.
Yes.
Right? What I mean is a job where, for instance, there's a penalty. So you're a salesperson, right? You're a salesperson, or you do this, you do that, you do the other. Something where there is a penalty if you don't turn out to be any good, rather than if you're... So I met some idiot woman, actually it was somebody somewhere from, I think, Sunderland or something. Honestly, she's in the cabinet, and the reason that she's in the shadow cabinet is because she adopted Corbynism as the stepping stone, as you would expect, because if you adopt any other stepping stone, you're going to be abused online, you're going to be pushed out, etc. So let's have a proper job. I'm not against putting their money up. It is a massive problem for the public, though, when somebody suggests putting prices up. They really do. I think politicians have done themselves a massive disservice over the Brexit debate. There's been some shocking things on almost every side. There's been has been. I mean, do you remember Rab Butler his book was called. His book on politics was called The Art of the Possible. And there's been no sense of late that there is any coming together. And that's affected the country, I think. I mean, it's very hard within families now to have this kind of debate.
I think our MPs are directly responsible for where we are now as a country. I think that if this whole thing had been handled a lot better, we look to them. They do a good turn, and John Berco's just done this the other day, saying that he thought Brexit was the biggest foreign policy mistake that we've made since the war. Yeah. Right now, the fact is that we were going through a time of great upheaval, great challenge as a nation, and there are 650 odd MPs there who are we trust to lead us through that, and they failed us. They completely failed us. In fact, it went the other way. They have made it much worse.
Isn't it shocking that Bercow, who was unelected, he wasn't elected, he didn't have to stand against anybody because he was the Speaker, actually played his cards in his own personal thought process,
shocking,
and then reveals in detail what everybody knew at the end of it. When he looked at an issue within Parliament, he looked at it through one lens. Lens was, this is what I believe. How can I stop?
I think this is something that happens with a lot of political journalists, but a lot of politicians as well, right? Which is that they do get so obsessed with what is happening in Westminster that every single element of their waking lives is obsessing over the minutiae of Brexit, who said this, who said that. And actually, as a result of that, you are so out of touch. You're so out of touch with it all. You're trapped in this little tiny echo chamber. And you think, like Burko will have thought, or, what some of the others, Subri's not standing in it, Subri might have said, they think they're doing this great, noble service, but they actually are so blinkered. They don't realise the wider ramifications of what they're doing, I think.
Yeah, and what they say is, we, the public, pay you to think about these things. Actually, all of us know you overthink things.
Yeah,
you
true.
You overthink things, and when you do that in your private life, in your business life, or in any other life, you become so obsessed that you actually come to the wrong conclusion.
I think so many of them were focusing on their legacy and how they'll be remembered. I hate to break it to you, you're not going to be, most of you. No one.
Well, what about Philip Hammond?
No one's going to remember Philip Hammond. My kids are never going to learn about Philip Hammond in school, right? They're never going to. That might be because I'm never going to have any kids, but either way. But still, they're never going to. But instead of
that's a sadness. I tell you what, can we have 2 minutes silence for that?
I think our listeners will be quite happy, actually. Yeah. No, but this is my
I think
point.
your missus will be happy.
Instead of focusing on getting the present right, they were focusing on how they're going to be viewed in history. And actually, I'm sorry, but they're going to be viewed very, very badly, a lot of them.
It is. Right, so coming back to Tom Watson, a fine day for me in politics, and he now says he's going to become a health advocate, and he's going to talk about the problems of diabetes. Now, the problems with diabetes, you don't lose 8 stone unless you've been shoveling 8 stones worth inside you for a long time, right? So let's deal with what he was up to. Was it the old falling over lotion? Was it I must have that 7th lasagna, right? I haven't had enough spaghetti hoops. I mean, let's find out what caused that in the first place, right? And then once we deal with that, then we'll be all right.
Fantastic. Kelvin Mackenzie there, former editor of The Sun. Oh, Mr. Patrick Christys. Hello. Last few minutes of the show.
Right, Arsenal captain should be Saeed Kolasinac. He's fought off an armed gang in Golders Green. Yet more fantastic footage has emerged of the hero that is Saeed Kolasinac as Mesut Ozil legged it off to a Turkish restaurant. Jealous. Saeed Kolasinac had a knife pointed at his throat, right, by 2 blokes wearing bike crash helmets. He then punched one of them in the face, which is fantastic. Didn't back down at all. Wasn't having any of it, and crucially managed to actually keep his £200,000 watch. Arsenal need a leader, right? They need a man who you'd go over the top with. They need someone to be a responsible driving force in that changing room. And no, it shouldn't be Hector Bellerin with his multiple ear piercings and veganism. It should be Saeed Kolasinac.
You make him sound like a superhero.
He's made himself sound like a superhero, mate, because he acts like one.
Do you reckon he has like a big light in the sky?
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Yeah.
A cape?
Cape, yeah.
I mean, I'm just trying to build this up now. I personally, I don't think he's their captain at all, but we can run with this. If you
Have you ever played with anyone who you would deem more inspirational than the man that fought off an armed gang in Golders Green?
That is incredibly inspirational. I would advise children not to copy his lead.
Do what you like, mate. Do whatever you like.
No. Why would you promote this?
I'm not promoting it.
You kind of are. We're making him into a hero.
He is. He's a hero.
He is a hero. Okay, what would you
Mesut
do?
Ozil ran off to a Turkish restaurant, mate. Just saying.
And they both got the same.
The fastest I've seen him run ever.
What would you do? You're in the position that Kolasinac is in. What would you do?
Oh, well, I would. So hang on. No, actually, I know what I'd do because I'm just reading into this story. Mesut Ozil's wife was in the car, so I'd leave it to her.
Fantastic. Yep. You are quite the hero yourself.
Thank you very much.
I mean, if you were to run away, the issue, I suppose, if you were to run away, you've got the whole coordination issue, you might trip over, and et cetera, I guess.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah, so that hurt, actually. Just going to say that.
That comment?
That hurt a little
bit.
Did it? Yeah. The irony is that when you hurt me like that, I have to go and comfort eat, and that makes it's a vicious cycle.
And that's it, and then I give you more stick about that.
Yeah,
so
I know.
It just continues, and it will continue tomorrow, because we will be back tomorrow at 6:30 a.m.
Oh, we're done.
Flown by, absolutely flown by, as
why
always.
You were telling me to shut up.
Thank you for joining us, as ever. We are back tomorrow at 6:30. Thank you, producer Mark. Thank you, Patrick. Do stay tuned. Martin Bell, the brilliant Martin Bell, is up after us. You're listening to Love Sport.
This is Love Sport.
It's cancer, they said. My first thought, let's just say it wasn't money, but time off work for treatment and trips to the hospital. paying the mortgage. And. The cost of living doesn't go away just because you're living with cancer, and Macmillan can help with that too. My advice? Take their advice.